Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
I'm looking for outdoor cushions that are completely waterproof. I need, Bob, hook me up. So I need 10 cushions.
Do you have a?
That's over $1,000 in cushions.
Do you have a cover?
I'm gonna take the cover on and off every time it rains.
I put it on every night.
I was just wondering
You
if
put the cover on your furniture every night? It's like a ritual? Does
Like-
TJ play a bugle while you're doing it?
It takes like literally 30 seconds. It's probably in the acres. You probably have to take the golf cart out to the furniture.
I have a cover for everything. I have a cover for the
well, then you're
table.
all set.
But I'm not doing that.
What about a
every night.
cushion
It's-
box?
It
Just a
takes
box
more.
for your cushions to store your cushions,
Tamara,
and
you
then
can
they
only
stay
do
It
so
has
dry.
to
much
be a
to
big
help.
box.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's 10 cushions.
Yeah, it's a lot of cushions.
A lot of cushion for the
You need a
pushing.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. This is Fred Kirsch, Mike Dussault, Matisse Bowman.
What are we doing?
Like this is weird. I don't know, for some reason I felt a little different.
It does.
But it is Tuesday.
It is.
And we're here at Gillette Stadium with our first edition of Patriots Unfiltered from our new studio. I'll give you a little heads up. It's not 100% complete. This is just temporary furniture. New furniture's coming in at the end of the week, but you get a little sense of what you're going to be seeing from now on with Patriots Unfiltered. A little bit more of a relaxed look.
I think so.
You know, that includes Matisse, relaxed.
You can see our ears now.
Yeah,
It
we don't need
reminds-
headphones
This
anymore.
reminds me of Bar Rescue when they do the big reveal at the end.
Yeah. Well, we still have some things to do with the monitors in the background and so on and so forth. But you're getting to understand a little bit of what this is going to look like.
Yeah, a little bit of a different vibe, though. I was saying before, I'm trying to imagine Paul getting mad on a couch. I just can't see it. I need him to bang a table. So
Maybe we'll just give him a piece of plywood, so like he can just be uncomfortable and be angry.
You bang
But yeah,
on it.
it's just the three of us because it is the dog days of the NFL, and a lot of people are out today. Paul's out, Alex is out, Tamara's out, Evan's out.
Evan's out. Evan's but Paul's down in the Bahamas. So I saw some pictures. Looks like he's having a great time. And
Yeah.
Alex
Alex-
is watching Bryce Behringer
Yeah.
play some
Yeah.
golf.
Yeah.
sweating or you know what off out there. We're
Yeah.
like crazy. I'm like, oh my god, walking a golf course today. We'd be pretty miserable. But yeah, we'll get through it. I've been watching some tennis, Fred. I watched Coco Gauff this week, and I was thinking
She
of you
made a
because
fool of herself.
she did, and I was thinking, I'm like, well, this is great because I thought might be only you and I on the show. So I'm like, all right, I know Fred's watching tennis right now.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't believe her
Very upset with
the
her.
coach and like doing
Yeah,
that. And I know she took, and not to like kick it right off going into Coco Gauff, but I couldn't. I've been doing so much youth sports lately of kids who can't handle any kind of adversity, and it was like all of a sudden she's like, tell me what to do, tell me what to do.
It was a
I
combination
couldn't believe
of
it.
pride and panic
Yeah.
that hit her.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're not going to talk about
That other girl was
maybe
just
later.
stone faced. Yeah.
Maybe later. But we'll get into Patriots. What do we want to get into? I mean, it's pretty quiet.
Yeah, I got it. Well, I got one little
But
nugget
go ahead.
to kick things off. Just I saw Andy wrote something today. You look at the clips and it's
Yeah.
like 25 articles about Bryce Behringer's performance yesterday at the golf tournament. But then Andy decided, I guess, to throw cold water on anyone who was hyping up the Patriots defense today. So just, interesting take. I'm like, oh, who wrote this for WEI? Of course, it was Andy. But I thought it was, I think he makes some good points about, saying everyone's kind of, and I don't know if this is necessarily true. It felt a little straw manish to me because I haven't seen a ton of people saying like, well, of course the defense is going to be top 5 again. And, I do think that there's some continuity there and they're getting some very good players back and they certainly have more talent on that side of the ball. But it felt like Andy was just kind of throwing cold water on people. Thought they were going to be, really good, trying to rely on Judon, who is going to be 32 next month. And we know Godchaux is unhappy and 2 key pieces for both the run game and the pass game.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Andy giving us a little football
it's-
here in July.
Anyone who says they know what's going to happen, they just don't. And I've heard people on both ends, too optimistic and too pessimistic. And you can make the case for why they're going to be better or worse than last year, because of the record.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, they only won 4 games last year. So in order to be better than that, it's not going to take that much in terms of the record.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Andy's right. There's no guarantee that the defense is going to be better on paper because it's a better schedule. You're losing Bill Belichick. I don't care what you say. That's a loss. You don't lose the greatest defensive mind in the history of football and say that that's not a loss. But then you look at the other side. Maybe Gonzalez is healthy for the season. Maybe Judon is healthy for the season. You know, you're bringing guys back. Anthony Jennings is that much better. Tavai is that much better. You know, Barmore is now like he's the man now. Maybe he plays like that. You know, so there's a lot of reasons to think the defense could be as good or better. You know, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what? The quarterback.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, as long as he's our quarterback and you can say at the end of the season he proved that he's going to be the guy, I'll be happy this year.
Yeah.
You know, but like I heard some people say, I think they can win 10 games. I think you really have to go out on a limb to get to that point.
Yeah.
I think you really do. Based on how bad the offense was last year and that they're starting from scratch with a whole new offensive regime, you know, I find that that's going to be tough. But do I think they could have more than 4 wins? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me do a little deep dive, and I wish Paul was here because Paul always keeps us like honest about like was the defense good last year, and I'd be like no, and then you rattle off.
Well, they did come
3
across
different
a lot
games.
of teams that had injuries.
Yeah,
yeah.
and they also, I mean, not a lot of turnovers. You know, not a lot of takeaways last year, which was almost kind of I feel like regression to the mean for this team. They've been so prolific with takeaways. You know, that defense it always seemed to be even years way back when 2020, 2011 when they weren't that good, but they got turnovers and that kind of offset their lack of talent. But you're right. I mean, it's I like seeing the mic'd up from Alex Van Pelt that we put out, which you guys can check out from minicamp. But it's just I enjoy listening to Alex Van Pelt because you can tell he knows exactly what he's looking for. It's just and I mean, I guess we're spoiled from last. I don't want to say last year because Billy O'Brien clearly knew what he wanted to. He just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to compare apples to apples, but I did like that, and I think it was a nice window into Alex Van Pelt and kind of his style.
I'm just trying to see what player takes that jump. Whether it's Demario Douglas, we saw him on Twitter working out with some other big name
Love
players.
those workout videos on Twitter, right?
Hunter Henry re-signed him. I'm just trying to see can Thornton finally reach that next jump we're trying to get. And I know we say don't bet on it, but is somebody going to step up? The offense is kind of missing leader. Is somebody going to be that guy who steps up?
That's what I wrote in the mailbag today. Someone was asking, how are you going to know if this is a successful season? And I think, as Fred said, so many people get caught up in what's your win prediction, and Paul always points out, like, you can have certain amounts of wins and the seasons look completely different. You can have a 6-win season that you feel really positive. You could have a 6-win season where you feel terrible. But I think to your point, what I wrote today was like, I just want a spark. Like, we just have to come out of this season saying we found some sparks this year that we can build around and try to make a real fire to make some noise in the AFC East. That was the way into the question was the talk of strength of schedule.
Yeah.
People get so wrapped up in that, and it's so much based on last year. And for me, I always just look at Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets. Like, those are the teams that you need to beat to get back to the playoffs. How do you stack up with those teams? The rest of them, it just depends on the year. I mean, last year, Anthony Richardson goes down from the Colts. You never see him. Like, it's totally different teams depending on when you get them. So you can, take those records from last year and say, well, this is what this is a tough schedule this year. Maybe, or maybe they get, what happened a couple years ago when they face everybody's quarterback gets hurt.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really have much impact.
And that's the thing, we had a running joke on this show. You don't know the strength of schedule until after the season.
Right.
And it sounds funny, because, okay, so then what are we going to talk about? But it's true. Like, okay, Cincinnati Bengals. Everyone thinks, well, they're going to be better because Joe Burrow's back. Okay, well, what if he doesn't play as well? Or what if he gets hurt? I mean, it's not like he doesn't get hurt. He's had 2 seasons now already where he's missed basically the whole season.
Didn't he go into training camp hurt last year too? Like,
yeah.
you never know what's going to happen.
Right, so like you don't know what's going to happen with these guys. Aaron Rodgers, what's going on with the Jets? On paper, they should be better, but you don't know.
I got a great example. The 2009 Patriots.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's going to be back. They got
Right.
Randy Moss. They got Wes Welker. I mean, this team set records 2 years ago. They might go undefeated, and it ended up being one of them. And I just watched the Bill Belichick Football Life again over vacation.
I can't get these guys to play.
I can't get these guys to play. Who would have
Right.
saw that coming? It's essentially the same team coming back from when you had a 16-0 year, just 2 years removed, and all of a sudden you take away Moss deep and you get up on Welker. Like, where was that in 07? So much can happen. I mean, injuries is the obvious one, but even just like the 09 Patriots where they just didn't have a good team. Like, they were lacking the chemistry and vibe.
I mean, like, not to just harp on the Jets, but you can definitely see that whole situation going south over there.
Easily.
You know, with that nut at quarterback. You know, even if he's playing, like, what if like they lose a couple games and he starts yelling at his offensive line or yelling at his offensive coordinator? I mean, you could see that whole situation just taking
or
a
just
turn.
like cryptic. It's not my fault. You know, like well, why don't you ask the coaches about that? I mean, we know he loves that.
We'll just even look at last year. It was like the Jets are new and 4 plays in. Like, you just never know what's going to happen until end of the season.
Right. So you go in with, I think you should go in with optimism. You know, to me, what I'm focused on is the quarterback. I'm focusing on Gonzalez. I think we've got, a Pro Bowler at the very least in the making there. Yeah. Barmore, I think, like, he's the guy now. Okay? Be the guy.
Yep.
I hopefully Polk can get some chemistry.
Baker.
Saw a little bit in at the end of minicamp.
Not so, like, if Baker happens, that's great.
Yeah. Well, but just
Polk,
like
Polk has to happen.
Just a rookie receiver hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Whether it's Polk or Baker, just one of them hitting the ground running. Obviously, Polk, he's the second rounder, but
Ramondre, he's got his new contract. Like, okay, we talked about it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago because I wasn't here last week, but he's a 3-down back. That doesn't mean he has to be down on the field for all 3 downs, but the idea is when he's on the field, you don't know what's going to happen as a defense. Yep. It could be a run play, it could be a pass play.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to be in the NFL these days. It's unpredictable.
Yeah, I think they could establish that with Gibson too.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's
what's Osborne going to be like?
I just to go back to the defense real quick, like, is there like I find myself finding there's like 3 levels of defense. There's an unacceptable defense, there's a fine defense, and then there are probably 1 or 2 defenses a year that are awesome.
Right.
And that's kind of it.
That's it.
And so, like, talking about like a top 10 defense, like, I kind of look like from about 4 to like 14, they're all pretty good. Like, just the modern NFL.
Well, they're all pretty good until the other team.
But you need the offense, right? Like, that's
until
you
get to the
now.
fourth quarter, and then it seems nobody can stop anybody.
Like, stack these defenses up, and then tell me who their offenses are, and then that's really going to be the determination of what one of those is the best. And I think this is a whole conversation about how much impact defense really can still have on the game. And I do think that there are defenses that do, but eventually it just gets down to the end.
Well,
and your defenses are gassed in the Super Bowl, and what does it even matter now? And it just, again, it comes down to the quarterback.
I mean, last year the Patriots, I think they averaged around 13 points allowed, which was really good. But you think about who they played. Minshew, where they get, how many games did they lose 10-7 or 10-6? Yeah. And you think, okay,
6-0.
If they just if they averaged 17 points scored per game, they probably would have had 7 or 8 wins.
Yep.
It's that final line.
Yep.
And it's going to be the same thing this year. It's going to be, a team that can just limit mistakes, score that extra point here and there. That's the difference between being over 500 or, it can't be 500 anymore, but you know what I mean. Like middling or a playoff contender.
We got to figure out what the win percentage is of 9 and 8. So,
yeah.
There will be 545, like whatever it is. Like, if you're going to be above 545.
I can't picture them saying that on the sports shows. They were 545 this season.
It won't be long before it's 18. Don't worry.
No, and I'll feel better about that. But I just think the biggest storyline, and we do the mailbag, is just when will Drake Maye play? And while Jacoby Brissett playing, like, is there anything to take from that? Like, or are we just treading water when he is in those games? I made
my prediction 2 weeks ago. I'm sticking with it. Your week 1 starter will be Drake Maye.
I'm for it. I don't think you can break him. I mean, he's either going to work or he's not.
We talked about it at length, and I heard other people now picking up on it because, they listen to us.
Of course, thought leaders.
There's no other position in any sport where you get better watching. You can get better, but you don't get as better as fast as if you're playing and doing it. And I know that, Bill Walsh in the past said every quarterback should wait at least. I think a lot of that thinking is they're trying to make physics out of Math 101. It's not that complicated. If the kid has the tools and he's got the brain, put him out there.
Yeah.
Now, but what if your offensive line stinks? Okay, there's always that. But rarely is your line that bad where, you're risking the guy's life.
Yeah. Well, that's my question is if we're going to play devil's advocate and say, what are the benefits to sitting Drake Maye? Like, if we're going to play the other side of the fence, and what are those arguments? Because I hear that, like, well, I mean, the offensive line can be amazing, and there's one blown block and his ACL is gone.
Right.
So it's hard to imagine. Well, it's so obvious to watch an offensive line. They can't block anybody, of course. Like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, like, for me, I think there's definitely value to understand how a game happens and what kind of adjustments need to be made on the fly. I think there's use in that. Where a team, this is our game plan going in. They're doing something to take away what we wanted to do. We have to adjust on the fly. It was something that Brady and McDaniels were amazing at because they had so much experience. That seems hard to me for Drake Maye week 1, where let's say they go out there against Cincinnati and they have to change the game plan on the fly. They probably don't have a lot to go to with him at that point.
Yeah. I mean, you have to experience it to understand it and then get better at it. But I really believe that midway through training camp, it's going to be apparent who is the best quarterback on this team. And as long as Maye is mentally understanding the playbook and the play calls and coverages and all that stuff, there will be no reason to not start him week 1.
Do you see that, though, as them being equal, or do you think Maye is going to be clearly better than Jacoby Brissett?
He will be doing things in the field where, like, he's the best quarterback you got.
Yeah.
It's apparent.
Like, I wonder if it's
not going to be like, remember when Cam was here and Mac was here, and we were like, well, if it's equal, start Mac.
Right.
And I think it was kind of equal. Mac was a little bit better, maybe more consistent, but there were times where Newton looked just as good.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think it's going to be a clear winner.
I wonder if in structure, Jacoby Brissett's going to, and this is what I expect, is that in structure, Jacoby Brissett should know what he's doing, and it should look pretty smooth. But we've already saw it in mini camp and OTAs. Once it's out of structure and Drake Maye's kind of on the move, that's when it gets fun. And that's what you're intrigued by.
And this is the NFL these days. It's
right.
What quarterback can extend the play? What can they do when things break down? What can they do when, there's all this garbage at their feet? On the run, on the move, improvise. Those are the quarterbacks that excel these days. Those are the ones that are thriving in the NFL.
Yeah.
And on this team, Brissett he's not a statue. He can move a little bit, but he's not gonna do what Maye's gonna do.
No, and that's the fun stuff, and that's what we saw, like the no look pass that we saw online. Even just watching him throw on the move, though, it's like nothing I've seen here. It's like nothing I've seen with a quarterback live, with just how comfortable he looks when things break down.
And that's the thing, comfort, because you mentioned no-look pass. Well, and I understand if people say, well, who cares about that? How often is that going to be needed in a game? But it shows that he felt comfortable to do that. Like, I'm feeling good about myself. I'm going to no-look this one. It's a little bit showboaty, but it also shows he's comfortable out there. He's not panicking. He's not overwhelmed. He's not afraid
like he has some free rein
to
to
show
do what he
himself.
wants.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I don't know if that one would have happened with Bill. That one feels like that one in camp.
It may not have.
It
may not have, but
it's
still,
one of those things.
I think that's actually a good sign.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As a fan, I'm just ready for some competent football. I feel like Mac went out there. It was like, well, this is going to be a 3 and out. Like, if Brissett can get some first down, go with it. Get a first down. I just want to be able to watch a competent offense. Yeah. But I do think I'm 50-50 on it. Like, I'm fine with either. But if you sit Maye, I think you need to stick to your guns a little and sit him the first couple games. Don't once it goes south, don't just yank Brissett.
It's hard. I know it's hard. It's hard, and that's like you get into all the different.
Well, no. But to get back to that, okay, if you sit Maye, why are you sitting him? If it's just a philosophy thing, really dumb. But if you're sitting him because he just doesn't quite get it, he's not picking up things quick enough.
Yeah.
And so we'd rather just have Brissett out there. Then you have to sit him until you see something in practice where it's clicking.
Yep.
So it's really why are you sitting him determines how fast he can get back in, because he has to overcome that why.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you sit him? Okay, when is he going to be ready? But like I said, he's going to show that he's ready right away.
And if that's the case, start him. I'm with you on that.
Now, okay, offensive line, well, who's your tackle? But they'll figure that out.
Yep.
They'll figure that out.
I think so. But is quarterback in football the only position in any sport where this is a conversation?
Yes, that's kind of the point that we made a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
No other sport do you say, oh, it's better to have a player sit and he'll get better, because he's not ready. Hey, if you think he's got the potential, get him out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's how you get better faster. You make your mistakes, and that's why I was upset in year one with Mac Jones. I said it right away. They're over-managing him. Let him make mistakes. Let him figure out, the level of where his water settles.
Yeah.
Let him throw interceptions, because that's how he'll figure out who he is and what his limits are. We always use Peyton Manning, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Had more interceptions his first year than he had touchdowns. By far. But the Colts knew he was good. It wasn't even a question. We're gonna let him be Peyton Manning.
Do you think, Fred, how they managed him that first year, though, they ended up reaping what they sowed with that in 2023?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they didn't let him throw into the end zone until like week 5 or something. It was like some ridiculous amount of games before he even threw a pass into the end zone.
And then that tentative nature you saw last year.
And then by the end of the season, when you needed him to do a little bit more, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They just weren't that good. And then year 2, you don't have McDaniels anymore. I mean, it was a whole mess. But
it sure seems like
I mean, but now he had to do it on his own more or less. And he just couldn't do it. It was disgusting what we were watching.
It's a weird kind of 3-year sample size.
So much happened.
Well, the success, you're right. Like, and managed second year, it's like they feel like, based on what Damian Harris said, they don't have the answers anymore. Like they cannot counter what other teams are going to do. They don't really have a plan of attack that's going to put the other team in conflict. And then last year, it's like I think we just all assumed they could shake loose of that and put 2022
Bill
behind
O'Brien
them.
would come in,
would break him of that, restore some confidence.
He would get rid of the chaos. He would get the structure.
He had the Alabama connection.
Yeah.
They we're going to get him back on that track.
It sounded good on paper.
Yeah, no, it did.
But there was something going on, and we've yet to hear Bill O'Brien, like be able to just talk about it honestly and openly. Someday I think we will.
Yeah.
Like what happened in that 2023 season. But there was more going on than just Mac Jones. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I was watching the Football Life again, but you see young Billy, which I think was 08 or was it 08 his first year as coordinator or 09? It was Josh stayed in 08. Josh left in 09. So it was his first year as coordinator, and watching Bill kind of go through things with him, he's still kind of wide-eyed, and now he's obviously a very experienced coach, and you just wonder how that relationship evolved last year, and how frustrating it must have been for Bill O'Brien. Because I remember our first meeting with Bill O'Brien in that PR room and feeling like, all right, like this guy knows what he's doing. The same thing I'm saying about Alex Van Pelt right now. That's what I was saying last year after we talked with Bill O'Brien. It's like, oh God, like sanity. He has an offense. He knows what he wants to do.
He has a plan. Yeah.
And it still didn't matter.
Yeah. I think last year coaching across the board on offense wasn't up to par. And not O'Brien, but you started out with Adrian Clem at offensive line, and something happened there.
Yeah.
I mean, he was bad-mouthing cameramen, and like something was going on there with him, and I think there might have been a health problem with him. But the offensive line was neglected. The coaching there wasn't wide receiving coaching. We all love Troy Brown, but there's a reason why he's not the wide receiver coach this year.
Yep.
So. A lot of issues last year on offense, and it wasn't just Mac Jones.
And kind of interesting though too, just to like how they got to Tyler Hughes, who was here and was I think an offensive assistant under Troy Brown, and then goes to Washington just for a year, and now he comes back, and so you had a guy in house that it almost reminds me a little of Nick Caley, where it's you had a guy kind of in house. They wanted to bring him back, weren't able to, but another guy who it seemed like maybe their opportunities were stunted by the setup of the last coaching staff.
It's true. I don't know. I don't know.
But I'm glad they've got a lot of these guys back in place. I think that.
Yeah, but I think the bottom line, where we started this conversation, going into 2024, to me, I'm optimistic that we're going to see things that are going to give us hope.
Yeah.
It may not reflect itself in the record at the end of the season because of a lot of factors. Better. Strength of schedule and in facing better quarterbacks and all that stuff, and just starting from scratch on offense. But I do think, I hope by the end of the season we say, okay, we got something to build on here. Now we add a few more things for 2025, and let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see those teams all the time. I think it's probably just a little jarring for Patriots fans to go from expecting to be in the AFC Championship game every year to now like
we got to get over that.
hoping like
it's a long. It's been
Right.
like 5 years now.
But you look at a team like Jacksonville a couple years ago who they got Trevor Lawrence and there's some excitement brewing there and they get to the playoffs and it's I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good comparison because it's just like it isn't that powerful drug that you really want, right? Like Patriots fans, they've had the heroin of being a dynasty.
Right.
Like
they'll be chasing that high forever.
Like you can't like oh great, we feel good about a few guys. Like like it's hard to get back. I mean, and I'm there. I want to be there too. But I think it's just
my point is if Drake Maye proves that he can be, a top notch. I'm not saying elite. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes, but if he can be a top 10 quarterback or at least top half of the league. Now you got something to build on.
Yeah.
Now you can build around this guy, and he's not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but you can win football games with him. And if you add some pieces, it'll be a worthwhile investment because you've got the quarterback.
So would you say that the dream scenario is the Texans? Is to be the Texans this year?
C.J. Stroud. Sure.
That's the dream scenario. So what's like?
Which kind of came out of nowhere too. It
100%.
seems kind of lofty to.
Which like when we
hope
mentioned
for
it the other week, like when C.J. Stroud came here for preseason game, like that was not impressive at all.
Yeah.
Like Paul and I were shocked that rookie of the year. But what would be the second hope, like the goal, second goal if you're not going to be the Texans? Texan is the elite goal.
I mean, I'd say you don't make the playoffs. Like that. That's
How about
what
the Chargers with better coaching?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
I can see that.
because I think, well, maybe not now, but when they first started with Herbert, they were underperforming a little bit, and I think
they benched
the coaching
Herbert.
helped them hurt them a little.
Or
bit.
he didn't start. Sorry, it was Tyrod had the injection, and then Herbert
and then
hit
he
the
just
seed.
they were saved for themselves. But that's like Fred's thing, where it's
like he clearly was
sorry,
ready.
We just got to put you in. Like you're going. But
I just threw that out there. But any others?
I'm trying to think of the rookie quarter. Like,
I mean, I always go back to just bring it to Patriots with Paul was 94, and just you win some games at the end of the season, and you don't make the playoffs, but you give some of these teams that everyone wants to talk about the good schedule. You give some of these good teams a really hard time, and then I think what is it, Buffalo, end of the season when you play them like twice in 3 weeks. Like, I mean, you put up a good showing in those two Buffalo games. They've won the division a lot. Ever since you won the division, they've been the division champs. So I think that's an opportunity that lines up that you could say, hey man, maybe you don't beat Buffalo in both those games, but we beat them in one. It took a last-minute Josh Allen miracle drive in Buffalo at the end, and they needed the win, and Drake Maye went up there in the cold, and man, he looked good, and he was locked in. That's another thing I feel like with Drake Maye is I feel him very likable guy, and I hate drawing comparisons to Mac, but it was like, that game in Buffalo with Mac, when that playoff game, and I was like, and I remember Paul perfectly, like Mac comes out, and he's like, he looks cold. I'm like, he sure does look cold. It was certainly those little elements.
That's a question on May too, because he really hasn't played in cold weather.
It's true.
No scuba suit.
It's true. Yeah. But that's what we need to see. Whereas when Matt came in, similar. They're like, man, we got this Alabama kid, national champion, went to the Senior Bowl, did 2 pro days to work out. He's competing. He doesn't seem like a kid who thinks that anything's going to be handed to him. And it started out great, but then you started to develop these little issues with him, like the cold stuff, and some of the sticking my foot up when I slide, and I'm gonna take a dive. These little things that really bug the crap out of me. Like Drake Maye doesn't have any of those things yet, and I hope that he doesn't. But he's going to have issues. There are going to be issues with Drake Maye that he has to overcome them. It's every quarterback, right? Like even Tom Brady went through,
like I said,
issues
he's not going to be lights out this year. But what I'm hoping for is, he's going to eventually be good.
But I'd love to see him look comfortable in the cold. Just to bring it all back to that. Like just to see him go into Buffalo and be like, yeah, man, this doesn't seem like it's
going to
bothering
Buffalo, no sleeves, maybe one glove.
Right. Just don't let it bother.
Because he's got to play here too. Like it's one thing to look at Tua and be like, man, Tua's never going to win in Buffalo. But they play in Miami, so like if it does work out and they get home field, like maybe it will work out for them. But if you're going to play in New England, you're going to play against Buffalo, you're going to be a cold weather team, and you're going to have that personality. Like you need the quarterback that can manage that and fit that. As much as it might be Ramondre or we want to be a tough physical running team in the cold, those kind of things.
So a lot of times, whatever the subject matter we're talking about, there's someone listening. So I'm appealing to our MIT listeners.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that in our field house you could have some type of machine that could mimic weather conditions, and I mean extreme, like 0 degrees,
right.
You know,
Snow,
and right up to
sleet.
high humidity in Miami, and you could replicate those conditions, so that you know when he gets there, it's not the first time.
I'm surprised
Yeah.
Bill didn't.
Yeah.
We got the coach.
I'll bet you there's a way to do it. I bet you
Bill
it
ever-
costs an arm and a leg,
No.
but I'll bet you could do
We
it.
talked to Ernie about his weather machine. I think that's
Yeah.
maybe been under wraps for a couple of years. But
Yeah, bring back Ernie Adams. Yeah.
But you just got to. I don't know. It's like it's one of those things like playing in the cold. You can either do it or you can't. Like, I don't know if you can like, really get ready.
I have to admit,
Yeah.
playing like
Football sucks
my
in the cold.
toes and fingers would literally hurt.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing. It wasn't like my whole body. It was just my extremities.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't like grab. I remember I broke every finger in one hand on a cold day.
God.
Like,
Well, I can see why you don't like it.
yeah,
then.
I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it.
No, that was the worst with football in the cold. With the hands and the
Yeah.
toes, and like even with like hockey, which I played and it was in in an ice rink, but you have full gloves, full skates. You are sweating. You're moving
Yeah,
constantly.
warm.
Like we had a game when I was in high school at Holderness, which had no sides. You probably played there.
Too many times.
No sides on the rink, and and it was supposed to be a really cold day, and they were building it up like, we got to wear rubber gloves under your gloves, and you got to put Vaseline on your face. And then once you got in the game, like this isn't bad at all. But like a football game in like the 40s.
You got that helmet. It's you right. in the-
Bang! Like you get a finger banged on a helmet or
Now,
something.
I think it's a lot better than it used to be. Like, back when I played, we were barely out of leather helmets. And, but now you do have the gloves.
The fields are
Yeah.
heated.
Nobody wore gloves back then. You didn't have any heat on the sideline. That at least you could warm up while you weren't in the game. There's a lot of things now that, back in the old days they didn't have. So maybe it's not as unbearable, but there are certain games, when it
that
gets
Buffalo game with
Yeah,
that game
Buffalo.
looked unbearable. I would have
That's-
looked cold too.
That's brutal.
Like,
That's brutal.
We
You
got,
know.
I'm thinking like there's not too many at Chicago could be pretty cold, at Buffalo, but then that Chargers and Bills game here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Indoor
I just
a
think
lot.
for Drake Maye to be the long-term solution here, I think part of like feeling the goodness. I don't know if it'll come this year. Maybe the opportunity won't arise. But I think we're going, like, I want to believe in Drake Maye in the cold. Like, that
Yeah.
has to be a core belief, which with Mac Jones, I was never getting there with him.
And it's not just cold and wind.
Yeah.
Because I remember a long time ago, we were actually helping, it might have been EA, develop one of their football games. And so I brought in Dante Scarnecchia as a consultant.
Oh, yeah.
And, we were looking at the weather algorithms. And he said the biggest one is wind.
Yeah.
It's not precipitation, snow, rain. It's wind. What's the wind like?
Yep.
And that's a bigger factor when you consider all the weather permutations.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Well, that's when you don't let Mac throw the ball.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
Drake
you
has
know-
a stronger arm, so maybe.
Well, that's it. You got to
a
cut
little.
through that wind. You got to,
Yeah.
keep the trajectory down. The whole thing.
I'm not gonna miss those Mac Jones floater passes. They're just waiting for the safety to pick it off.
That's been one
every time,
thing.
every time I think of Mac Jones, I think of that
yeah.
Colts game in Germany
Oh.
and that play where he just underthrew it by 2 layers.
Yeah.
And it got picked
Falling
off
away.
on that winning
I just remember
drive.
being on the field and then you hear the Zappy chant like
Yeah.
it's over. I was like, this is it.
I mean, I feel like we let down the whole world of Patriots fan, not just Germany, but like all of Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel similarly, but it's still what an awesome experience that was, and the fans that came out like the night
Oh, it was
before.
like that's why I felt so bad.
it
you want to give him something.
I want to win for them.
Well,
So okay, so
we gave him Paul. Paul was there, celebrity.
yeah, we won
Gibson.
4 games, but one of them was Germany. We'll always have Germany.
Yeah,
yeah.
You would trade the Steelers game for that one,
Oh,
That was
man.
awful.
Oh man.
That's why I was watching the Euros and I was like, this looks familiar. And they were playing in Frankfurt.
Oh,
they
really?
had they had the roof closed this time and stuff. But what a great stadium. What a
I
great
didn't
stadium.
even get to see it.
Well, listen, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota. Let's go back to Germany.
Well, the guys, they're going to Brazil, right? Kansas
Yeah.
City. They're going
Kansas
to
City
Brazil.
and
so
Green
that-
Bay.
Do you think the Patriots will go back to Brazil before they go back to Germany? Go to Brazil before
I
Germany?
don't know.
or- Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
No.
But if they do, why not have a Bud Light? It's easy to drink. It's easy to enjoy. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the New England Patriots.
Oh, I bet they're going down for Paul right now. Actually, I asked him about Kalik. That's the Bahamian beer I remember from my spring break trip there. And
So he's in the
night-
Bahamas.
He's in the Bahamas.
Is he at that
Yeah.
place,
Atlantis.
Atlantis?
He's Atlantis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
Billy.
it looks Atlantis looks good, but there's a lot of kids, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We gotta get a video of Paul going down the slide that goes under the Shark Tank or whatever.
Oh yeah. No, he sent me a picture because the drinking age is 18 down there, so they're excited for TJ, who is getting his free reign.
They're excited for his kid.
of
Oh,
alcohol.
we're so excited for our son to be able to drink.
But there's casino there, I think.
I think it has everything.
Because when we went there, we got I don't know if you remember when you were in college, they would in the mailroom or whatever, they would have go on spring break, and then be a little thing with a bunch of little pull tabs, and it was all right, what is the cheapest place in Nassau? Because we went to this place called the Colony Club that was first our flight was delayed. We got there at 2 a.m. We still have to do orientation. We're what are we doing? Then we get to this hotel, and it was terrible. So we would just always go over to Atlantis and just walk around.
I think that's what people do because you can just get a day pass. So people stay at the cheaper hotels and boat over.
Yeah, I mean, no one's gonna kick you out around the pool, right?
No,
You probably have to buy a day pass or whatever. I did that in Cancun for golf. You just buy a all-inclusive day pass.
One of our other they got locked in their room. The door just broke, and they were just stuck in their room. We couldn't get them out. The Bahamas. It's fine.
So Paul's down there with his whole family.
Paul's there, the whole crew.
Extended family, or just
I don't know if extended.
the nuclear family.
I think it's just the foursome, the fearsome foursome, and I think Evan's probably out on Martha's Vineyard. That's his spot.
Martha's on the Vineyard
and
Amityville.
Tamir's down south, right? No, he thinks Jaws is overrated. Doesn't hold up. It's Evan's quote about Jaws, which has been on a ton, and I've been taking.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So no, the guys are vacationing, getting ready.
All right.
Camp
Well,
in a couple
855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Web radio at Patriots.com is the email address. Jack in Ann Arbor says the new studio looks awesome, but Fred looks like he's going to sink into that cushy chair like quicksand. Yeah, these aren't.
They feel pretty big.
These are just temp furniture. We're going to get leather.
Yeah.
Leather chairs.
Do they have a spot for a drink maybe?
A drink holder? That's a good
nice,
idea. Yeah, we should look at that.
We're getting foot rests.
Got a hydrate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we go along, we'll tweak it. Yeah.
Well, as I see the other podcasts out there, I do notice that these are the thing. This is what everybody uses, this elbow in front of your
Well, now that,
head.
we don't need the headphones, so.
It's a little weird, though. I'm having trouble. I feel like when the headphones are on,
you're locked in.
You can hear yourself, and it almost feels as much you're listening to the show. And this way, it just feels kind of like we're sitting here having a conversation.
Well,
so
that's kind of
how
the
it's
idea.
Supposed to be.
Yeah, we're supposed to be
You'll
more
get used to it.
relaxed.
I'll get used to it. I'm just, I feel I'm in uncharted territory here.
Yeah.
I'm in a chair.
Yeah.
But
all right.
anyway.
So, you know what, Matt? I forgot to order food, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Shoot.
Where are we gonna put the
I'll
sandwiches?
have to figure something out. Anyway, Matt writes in, a different Matt. I was watching some Drake Maye highlights, and I was wondering where you draw the line between fixing his form and letting him play his natural style. This is where we need Evan. It seems like he can make some really good throws on the run. So where do you say, yeah, his form isn't always perfect, but he's athletic and able to put the ball where he wants. So let's focus on getting him to make the right decisions instead of tearing down his form completely. Is his form that bad?
I don't think it's
Is
that
that,
bad. I don't
like,
think it's that bad. I mean,
is it any worse than what Mac Jones was? And I didn't hear anyone complaining about Mac Jones when he came in.
No, I mean, I just think it's hard because you pull one string out to try to adjust something and then you screw it up. And so I think for any throwing coaches, they're all very very careful.
I'm sure
with
if
that
you
stuff.
have a reel of his interceptions at North Carolina, I'm sure 9 out of 10 of those something was going wrong with his footwork or whatever, and that's why you throw interceptions. I mean, Brady back, when he was on a back foot, or Bledsoe on a back foot, you more tend to airball it and airmail it, and you get an interception. So if you just focus on his mistakes, I'll bet you on every one of those mistakes there was some technique that was off. But isn't that the case with every quarterback?
I think so, and that's what one of the takeaways I had when we did the Brady thing with Josh was just how prepared he was snap to snap. So much of his mechanics were already ready to go because he knew where he was going with the ball, and it was all preset. It wasn't harried or rushed. He always was so methodical that he was able to put, there were so many times when Josh was just like look at the mechanic. It's just absolutely perfect, because pre-snap he canceled out this side of the field and he's only working on this side and it's probably going to be this guy. And, so I think it's not to the question, but it's mental, It's as much as he starts to understand the game more and understand the offense. I think it'll help his mechanics.
Well, I'll tell you, a quarterback whose mechanics to me looked great was Garoppolo.
Yeah.
I mean, he came in camp and
Just
the way his release and his, his front foot, with the weight on the front foot, and the spacing between his feet, angle of his shoulders. To me, he looked like a really well coached quarterback, but he threw a lot of interceptions in practice.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of technique; it was because of up here.
Yeah.
Just throw him in practice.
Man,
don't throw him in the game.
I mean, he had a much quicker release than Brady.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It stood out immediately. You could see why they liked him. But
Yeah.
again, you talk about Drake Maye. It was like Jimmy Garoppolo came in. You didn't know that he was going to be an injury-prone kind of guy that couldn't quite seal the deal in the big ones. But wins a lot of games. But that's what his NFL quarterback personality is. What's Drake Maye's going to be?
He did not fall.
Yeah.
You laugh, but I think players should be coached on how to fall. And I know in the martial arts they teach that.
Tipped
Do it in
judo,
soccer
right?
too.
Yeah, they teach that how to roll your shoulder when you fall, and don't put all your weight on your shoulder, and kind of absorb the blow of the fall. And I think it's worthwhile learning that.
Sure. I mean, I love when the guys get into the league for a while. I mean, Tip was the famous one of I remember as a kid being like, he's into martial arts. That was, but the guys start to get in, like Brady getting into different things, as these guys start to find their path, finding, different training methods. But that's why I think you're totally right. I mean, I feel like judo is that's what it's meant for. How to
roll,
how to
fall and roll. And
but even that,
stuff.
I remember that first injury he took against Miami, right? Where he kind of fell like this, and shoulder out. Not good. And
even with concussions, I notice some guys, when they fall, they lose control of their neck and their head hits. But there's other guys, they bull their neck and it stops them from hitting their head.
That's another thing with that I've noticed with NFL guys. Like they get in as rookies, and then all of a sudden their neck just slowly, until you get like Devin McCourty neck.
Right.
That's their necks just expand.
Yeah.
And you understand why, but that's one thing.
Let's see. Anthony writes in. He's from Hampton, Virginia. If somehow the scenario plays out that Drake Maye has an okay first season but nothing special, also a college quarterback has a transcendent season like Joe Burrow, and we end up with the number 1 pick, would you rather stick with Maye and trade the pick to keep building, or select a new quarterback? This is a part of why I'm worried they don't play Maye enough. You need to know who you have in order to make informed decisions on the next draft. Worst case scenario is we barely play Maye, thinking he will figure it out later and pass up on a great quarterback in the draft next year because we don't want to give up on an unknown. It's a good question because, you could say, well, there's no good quarterbacks really coming out this year. Well, when Joe Burrow, the year before, he wasn't considered an elite quarterback. It's only that last year at LSU where he did it. That could happen with somebody.
Yeah, just say hypothetically Shedeur goes off. What do you do?
That could happen. And then you have the first pick. What do you do?
Why does Drake Maye have a bad year? Why wasn't he good? Was he not protected? Was he, did he not have a weapon?
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely that you're going to come out of that scenario and say, well, everything was perfect.
But let's just
Drake
say
May's
that
kind of average.
Let's say Drake Maye has a good year, and it's Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow after that year in LSU. He's a national champion. You have the first pick. What do you do?
No, I stick with Drake Maye.
You stick with Drake Maye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd go with. I mean, if you can point a direct line to the left tackle, I'd say just stick and take one of the tackles that are going to be top 5 picks. If that's what what you really think you need, make sure you give Drake Maye enough of a chance. He's just too athletically gifted. Like with Mac, I can move on early because he's not that athletically gifted. Like he's a smart quarterback, and I mean he's obviously an NFL quarterback. As Bill said, he can play in the league. I think at least be a backup. But I think Drake Maye's got too many traits to give up on him after 1 year. So it would have to look really great around him, and he would just keep continually screwing up, making bad decisions. Look nothing like the player that we've seen brief glimpses of in OTAs.
Well, then also if Drake is decent and there's some all-star quarterback, the amount of assets you're going to get for that pick, I think it's just worth it to stick with Drake. You might be able to get that superstar number 1 receiver, or
that's a good point.
A stud defensive end.
Build your team around the quarterback.
Too many picks.
Even in free agency too. Right?
Yeah,
like,
just think about what the Bears would have got. Think about what the Bears would have got if they wanted to keep Fields and gave up the Caleb Williams pick.
Right.
They would have gotten a franchise worth of picks.
Yeah.
So you're saying tank the season?
I just don't think everybody's gonna be that good to give up that pick.
I mean, it would have been a tackle in Roma Dunze. You know, like that's probably what they would have done. But
what's wrong with that?
No, I know. I mean, Caleb Williams.
We'll see if Caleb Williams balls out. If he doesn't ball out, then it might be worth it.
But that's another thing with like the schedule. Like, are people saying Caleb Williams in Chicago is that a beast of it? Like every team is pretty good right now. Like I just don't see like the schedules out there that are like, well, that's a layup schedule. Like every team I think you could point to have, you know, some problems. Like it's a good time for the NFL right now. There's a lot of good young quarterbacks.
The thing that annoys me about the Bears is that they were that Thursday night game away from their coach being fired. Like, you know, people give Fields a lot of crap, but he wasn't that bad. And the coaching, he was a similar situation to Mac. Like the coaching wasn't that good. All right, you get rid of Fields, and now you got Caleb Williams, so it's all on the coach now because they made all the changes for their roster. So
yeah, if it looks the same, we know why.
Yeah. Let's get to the phones. This is the first time we've done it with this headphone-less
it's gonna blast
setup. So let's see what this sounds like. Patty's in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's going on, guys? Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
there you are. Hey, Patty.
Hey, so Freddie, I am 100% behind you. To me, like, who cares? Like, listen.
Hello.
I've gone on. Take it for what it's worth, but like, I was on YouTube watching Alex's show, and there was a few different commenters saying like, Drake Maye should start week 8 or week 10. He'll get killed if he starts week 1. And my whole point was if the offensive line sucks, what's the difference if he starts week 1 or week 10? At least if he starts week 1, you get a whole full season with him.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think
you start in week 1 with a bad offensive line. It can't get worse than that, right? So anything else is going to be better for him. Yeah. I mean, listen, I don't want him to get hurt, but I don't think that's going to, you know, it can happen to anybody. You know,
I mean,
and to me, he's too athletic for, you know, I think he's very elusive. He can run if he needs to, pull it down and tuck the ball and take off. But the other thing too is, oh man, I just lost my mind. Forget it. That's all I got. But I'm behind you.
Okay, Joe. I'll see.
Come on, let the kid get in there and do some damage.
All right.
Thanks, Patty.
Let's go to Brad in Ohio. What's up, Brad?
Hi, how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Joe Burrow country.
Talking to you. Yeah, that's right. Farm country, right? So anyway, guys, I got some questions about the new receiver coach we got from Pittsburgh, which is he's the newest addition, right, to our coaching staff.
Yeah, Underwood.
Yes.
Taekwon.
Yeah.
All right. So that being said, and with Troy Brown getting demoted a little bit, and the fact that Pop Douglas really wasn't, so many passes he was open when I look back to his film act, that Mac Jones didn't even look his direction. Given that and the fact we have better receivers that I believe we drafted this year, I think I have an optimistic view of our team, I guess, more than most people. And I've been a Patriots fan for quite some time, so I think if May plays, that we can win 7-8 games even.
Okay, well, that's. I mean, I hope you're right. I mean, to me that's optimistic.
Yeah,
it's optimistic.
I'm thrilled if they win 7-8 games.
Yeah, if they won 7 or 8 games this year, I think Patriot Nation, they would sign up for that in a heartbeat, and they couldn't wait for 2025.
Yeah.
It would be like the most anticipated offseason ever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so with that being said, next year's draft, we got a lot of holes to fill. Like
that's what I mean. Now let's build. Let's go. Yeah.
We need a tight end. We need a left tackle. I think defense is going to be a primary draft next year, really. And I think we should start May around the Miami game or, after the 49er game, somewhere in there. I don't know what you guys think.
Well, tell me why. Tell me why that game, not week 1 or not later. Tell me why you picked that game.
simply because it's a division game primarily.
Okay.
And so he already gets familiarity with a division opponent within the season, and he starts building that kind of tenure he has with a division opponent as his number one opponent, opposed to a team that we're not going to see all the time. If that has any kind of
to me, thanks for the call, Brad. Appreciate it. I don't think it makes a difference. If you're not going to start on week one, then again, why did you not start on week one? And you start him when he's ready.
Yeah.
And personally, I think he's going to be ready week one. But I wouldn't To me, it's crazy to sit here now and say, yeah, I think week 4 is the right time.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
If you're sitting him, I think you start him week 8 against the Jets, just because the way the schedule builds out. You got the Texans at home week 6, but then you don't want him to go from a home game right to playing in London. So I'd be like, if you're going to sit him,
but why are you sitting him?
That if you're being cautious, which I don't know why you should be cautious. I'm with you.
Are you cautious because of the offensive line, or
offensive
because of
line,
his
just
mental ability?
Offensive line, just some big games in the first half of the season.
So you're saying I want to see how our line's playing first before I throw him out there.
I don't think you need to get his confidence killed if he's getting out there and getting bludgeoned every game.
That's probably the core of the argument.
To me, that's part of the support staff is to not let his confidence get low, is to keep him up even when he's not doing well.
But I'm just looking at, you're away at the Bengals week 1, then you have Seattle, but then you're away at the Jets, away at the 49ers. It's a tough stretch.
Any way you cut it.
I mean, some people say it's better to start a quarterback on the road, because they're not feeling the pressure of the home fans and being in front of them, and there's less noise during the week. You're in the hotel. I don't know.
I know. There's just so much thought going into it, and I just come back to put up or shut up. Get in there, play the game, start racking up experience.
If you're going to be great, you're going to be great.
If you're going to be great, you're going to be great. You've got 4 years, 5 years. I mean, just start the clock now. Start getting that experience. Start seeing how teams play. And if they do, I mean, I just have a hard time imagining that they're going to be so inept that he's just going to get killed. And I mean, and to be honest, I keep going back to Super Bowl 42 or the AFC Championship in Denver when Brady was getting killed the whole game. That happens. It's not, our offensive line is great, everything's fine. There are games like that.
Right.
So I have trouble seeing them, as bad as they were last year, being completely inept and just cutting guy free rushers every other play. That just doesn't, in that case I get sure, sit them. But that's not reality. There's going to be ups and downs, and it's no matter who's in there and no matter who your offensive line is, it might be a little shaky at first. I think the way training camp goes now, with the amount of hitting that these guys do, the offensive line is always a little bit behind, and it takes a while to gel.
And the other thing that the modern NFL has to contend with that the old NFL didn't is the money. Okay, you've got these quarterbacks on basically 5-year contracts, but the 5th year is an option year, right? So you have a limited amount of time to know this guy's worth, and 4 years from now it could be $80 million a year. Who knows? You need to find that out. So every season is precious, and then every game within the season is precious. You need that time to understand who you have.
Especially if you're Elliott Wolf or Drake Maye, and this is their first opportunity as a GM and head coach. What do they want? Don't they want to find out so that if this isn't the case, that they can quickly try to tack to something else rather than, the whole first year we just kind of did Jacoby Brissett and we didn't really learn anything about Drake Maye. That just doesn't seem smart to me.
So I don't know. I listen. I'm sure there are coaches out there that still feel that the guys need time because they think that it's rocket science. But for a great quarterback, it's not. The game slows down for them. They understand it mentally. This isn't rocket science. It's just experience, understanding the speed of the game. Because to me, that's the biggest difference. It's how fast the game goes, and you have to be able to process. But once you figure that out, then now it's all your God-given talent.
Yeah.
And if you've got it, you got it.
What do you feel? I feel like this conversation, I feel like this is a conversation going on in a lot of places, but it feels like it's raised the stakes of training camp a little bit. That we want, we really want Drake Maye to
even
seize the job and be the
limited.
guy.
You know, it's less practices. It's less practices with pads. Preseason's a joke. The games itself. You know, so like there's less time for coaches and scouts to evaluate. You got to get him in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, and all that we've been talking about here for the first like 45 minutes, like that joint practice against the Eagles.
I was about to say
one
that.
day.
One day.
Well, I haven't been that excited for a practice in a while. Like usually the player, like it's usually a 3-game.
Are you legally allowed within 50 yards of AJ Brown, or is that you still have to maintain?
That's
restraining order.
No, that's Chris Cassidy.
No, that's you in the running back for Tennessee.
He's now a Raven. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Which is another like. Did you find like these moves happen in the offseason? We're so focused on the Patriots, and then it's like I'm watching NFL Network, and then all of a sudden it's like Derrick Henry talking about his new teammates with the Ravens. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot about that.
Aaron Jones on the Vikings,
and he's going to be revitalized.
Oh, he's going to look scary. Like
the
Ravens uniform.
I can't wait for the all black. Black with the black vibes.
Oh yeah, I don't know. But again, he's a running back, so maybe this will be the year where it's like he just can't get out of the
backfield. I know he's not the same as he used to be, but I think he's going to have a year there.
Little chip on his shoulder. I mean, you
remember when Adrian Peterson had that one year where I forget, like everyone thought he was done, and then he had that 1 year. I think that's going to be Derrick Henry this year.
Yeah,
I watched a little of. They're doing behind the scenes Hard Knocks right now for
Giants.
For the Giants.
Yeah.
And I always you develop opinions when you watch these things, and I'm like, it's not going to work there. That's my watching Joe Shane and Dable do their things behind the scenes, and this is all just like after the season. They're talking about really the decision to keep Saquon or to finally find out what's going on with Daniel Jones and if they really have something. But
the Daniel Jones clip when he's like, we could have had Patrick Mahomes, and the coach is like, what are you talking about?
No, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting. Like we're so used to Hard Knocks being training camp, and this is a little bit of the offseason, and you see, but it just cracks me up because it's like at the end of the day, it's the same thing that we do. Like we all just kind of sit around, and it's like the same kind of conversation.
But they actually just have the power.
But they actually have the power.
They probably have a little bit more information.
Yeah, they have more information. But like the conversations are kind of just like I don't know. I mean, this year we got to find out if Daniel Jones is the guy, and we got to get him a weapon. And
it's
like
they also just add in because they're like the money's like on them. It's like, we did pay him this much money.
Right. But it's it's pretty good. I checked that out.
Well, it's heating up. And the hotter temps have you hoping to overhaul your sleep routine, do they?
Oh, my God. It's tough, Fred. It's sticky.
Cool off and rest up with the latest styles from Bob's Discount Furniture with feature-packed stylish bedroom sets just made for turning that alarm for just $799 each, and plenty of extra savings when you bundle Bob's best-selling mattresses with an adjustable base. Bob's is your go-to spot for a total bedroom makeover. So stop by Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. We're going to take a break. We come back, more calls and emails here on Patriots Unfiltered. Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
What's up, everybody? Maddie here. Let's listen to a snippet of the Pats from the Past episode with Brian Hoyer. Be sure to check out all our Pats from the Past episodes wherever you can find podcasts.
When you were traded back here, was that Halloween?
It was Halloween night. I remember being
so
there.
You got. This isn't. I mean, you want to talk about we're dads. You know, you remember going out trick or treating with your kids. Okay, he's in the NFL. It's a little bit different, but at the end of the day, he's still a dad.
Yeah.
You're traded back to. Hey, we're going back to New England. This is great. Tell us a story.
So I remember leaving the the facilities in San Francisco that day, and I was like, all right, see you tomorrow. Kyle, see you tomorrow. And I think it might have been the day before Halloween because we had to go get the costume. And so I got home, took my son to like the Spirit Halloween store, get his costume, get to the checkout line, get to the car. And Kyle calls me back and he's like, hey, we're going to trade you back to New England. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, they offered to trade us Jimmy. And as part of the deal, like they need a backup quarterback. So like, you know, we're going to trade you back to New England. And I just remember being in shock because, you know, I thought I'd seen it all at that point, but I'd never been a part of a trade. And the way it worked out, it wasn't like they agreed to release me and I could sign here, and because of comp picks and things like that. But I remember having to like go home and like break that to my wife because we had moved, but we had never moved in the middle of the season. And I was like, all right, so I'm going to have to go to New England on Tuesday night. And then I remember it was the bye week here, so I practiced, stayed an extra day, met with Jerry Shaplinski, who was the quarterback coach, met with Josh a little bit. All the players went to their, you know, whatever they were doing for the bye week. I flew back to California, got the biggest suitcase I could because, by the way, Bill's like, hey, we're playing in Mexico City in 2 weeks, so I hope you have a passport. And
did you?
Yeah, I did. And so I packed as much stuff as I could, took the red eye on Saturday night, came here Sunday, landed Sunday morning, went and saw 3 different houses, picked one, went and toured a school, ended up being the school that my kids still go to this day. And, you know, it was a whirlwind, you know, week. But that's, I mean, look, like I said, I know that we're privileged. This is the NFL, so I'm not comparing it to other people's situations. But that was a week that took a huge toll on my family and my wife. And you know, I couldn't have done the career that I had without her and her support. And thankfully we met when we were in high school. So we had a strong foundation and you know, but in a way it made our kids, you know, kind of mature and deal. And so my son, we went out to Vegas last year and he goes to baseball practice with a bunch of kids that he doesn't know. And by the end, they're all laughing and he's immediately, so he knows how to adapt. And so there's positives and negatives to all sides of it.
Did you get to trick or treat?
No. Well, I remember being like waiting for the deal to be worked out, and Bill calls me. He's like, "Look, are you gonna get here or what?" And I'm like, "Bill, I'm just waiting for like the airline ticket. I got a bag packed in my car. I was at the kids' like Halloween party at school, and I'm like, I'm just waiting for like the ticket."
That's
so funny. I'm not going to ask you the question about the Eagles Super Bowl in 2017. We'll gloss over that.
Well, I don't think anyone knows anyways.
Okay. So in 2018, obviously you're part of your championship season.
Yep.
For you, I want to go before that to the Kansas City game in the AFC Championship game, and just what it was like. Because for Matt and I, you know, again, there's that same theme of us being around.
Sure.
We've both been around for all of these Super Bowls, so we've gotten a chance. That one stands out for us. That Kansas City AFC Championship game was one of the greatest games that I've seen, and I just want to know what it was like from your perspective, watching that overtime drive.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
all
to
that
me,
drama.
I think that's my favorite game as a Patriot ever.
Love to hear that.
Because in a way, looking back, that really was the Super Bowl. In my opinion, I know we had to go the next week and beat the Rams, and the defense played an incredible game. But to go into Kansas City, it's like, you know, -5 degrees. No one's given us a chance to win. And the effort that everybody put in that week to that game to then get, like you said, get to this overtime win, I think, you see it on our faces running on the field. I think it was kind of a true, like, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, like a true, like, us against the world moment. No one was there to support us other than the guys on that sideline. No one everyone in the stands, you know, wanted us to lose. Really, everybody kind of wanted this changing of the guard. Here's Mahomes. You know, they're going to beat the Patriots. And it was kind of like against all odds type thing. And so fittingly comes down to this 2-minute drive where here's Tom and the famous, you know, Julian quote, "You're too old," at his age. And, you know, methodically drives us down and win with a touchdown. I mean, it's, to me, it was like the ultimate team win. And when I always think of my time with the Patriots, it was always the best teams that I've been on. And I'm not just saying because we were the most talented or had the best coaching staff. I'm talking about the group of men that were in the room. And we were so close-knit as a team. And like I said, I think you see that when you see on the field. And I think I'm right behind Kyle Van Noy and Tom's jumping into Kyle's arms. And it was like this moment, like we have to go win the next week because this game was so important and so critical to that and the belief that it gave, I think, everybody in that team.
And look, fortunately for the rules and everything like that, coin toss,
Yep.
you win, you know you're getting the ball. As you're sitting there and you're seeing, the personnel, everything like that, is there any doubt in your mind you guys are going down and scoring at that point in time?
It was kind of like it was kind of like a back and forth.
It
So
was
you
a
were
back
just
and
you were
forth.
just hoping you got the ball, and I think at that point, it was like the thing that I always look back was I couldn't believe that they couldn't cover Julian, because really we ran the same play from both sides, and we had this little motion and you were like, when he hit those two plays, you're like, man, we're in the driver's seat. We just got to go and not make any mistakes. And I think we ended up running with Rex for a touchdown.
Yep.
So,
but 3 3rd and 10s,
right?
And two to Jules and 1 to Gronk.
It was a play called China, and it meant like a shoot and an in, the CH for shoot and an in, and I'm like, all right, well, it worked once. And usually, sometimes as a quarterback, you kind of like get to the point where like, all right, we just ran that play, like there's no way it's going to work again. And, that was just Tom basically, dropping back, seeing the coverage, and here comes Julian, several times. I don't know if Hogan had a great catch on that drive, but
I think at the end of regulation.
Yeah,
he had a great catch in regulation. Yeah.
It was kind of a similar play, but
Right.
clearly, this is the greatness of Tom and Josh and all those guys working together. They were having trouble covering the middle of the field. And so just continue to expose it until they fix it. And, they didn't fix it in time, and luckily for us, it was able to take us down and win that game.
So Paul brings up, and I think a lot of Patriot fans would agree, spoiled, yes, first world problems, what's the best game? Interesting to hear that you say that, but you got to go and you got to beat the Rams in Atlanta. And I'm not sure that fans quite know the role that you played that week and your experience with McVay and that system. Talk a little bit about how you saw your role that week as getting ready to play the Rams.
Yeah, I mean, as a backup quarterback, you always prepare to play. We talked about that earlier, but the reality is, like, Tom's healthy. I mean, could something happen in the game? Yes, but for me, I always think like, how can I, especially at this, the last game of the year, the Super Bowl, like, what am I going to do to contribute to the team to help them win? And because I was a veteran guy as a backup and had played in a lot of places, I always had great conversations with Devin and Jason and Hightower and Gilmore. And, when we would play a team that maybe it was a system that I was in, and I'm running the scout team, I'm like, hey, listen, this is how they're teaching these quarterbacks. This is what they're looking at. And I'll never forget, like, get into the hotel in Atlanta. And, you practice a week before you travel. And I'm like, all right, some of these plays are similar to what I ran with Kyle, who obviously influenced Sean. And, I remember, being in the hotel room on because you have to have an off day, even though you're traveling there for the Super Bowl, it's an off day, and your family's not there yet, and so you kind of hunker down in the hotel. And I saw a thing on Yahoo. It's like, here's they did like a Hard Knocks show, but it was on Amazon, and here's some clips from the year that the Rams did, mic'd up, and I'm listening to the play calls that they have on these clips from training camp, and I'm like, well, I know that play, I've run that play before. And as the week went on, I kept watching more and more of their film and being like, I know the offense that they're going to run, and having meetings with Bill and Matt. And was Matt still there, or was it Flo?
It's Flo.
Yeah. And being like, listen, I know, they don't really have an answer for this. They don't really have, if you bring this pressure, they have to throw hot, things like that. And so I took a lot of pride in that. And one of my proudest moments was after the Super Bowl, Devin and Jason kind of talking that to the media and being like, we were on it. We had a great feeling because Brian gave us a great look. He sat there and talked about, their offensive system. And, that was a way for me to feel like I actually contributed in some way, because I never stepped on the field. But, you got to do whatever you can to help the team win. So, something that I was proud of and fortunate of having been in those systems, I could relate that to those guys.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx, and with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next, for residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
I have to be honest, he thoroughly confuses me almost every time he calls. Like, what on the Monday? What Monday? Yesterday?
Maybe a week from Monday that there's no official practice scheduled, but there might be a secret practice of some sort that we would that hasn't
we
been
will be
announced yet.
live during the two Panthers
Tuesday
practices,
and Wednesday.
which is Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right.
Like we always, I mean, since we started doing the joint practices, we've always done live during the joint practices.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I don't know. It might be a me thing.
Any camp that we practice we go to, we'll have a camp cast wrap at the very least.
Paul gets very defensive when anyone asks him, "Are you going to be doing any work?" He gets very defensive.
Well,
we do lots of work.
Like, are you going to continue the camp cast? It's like, no, we decided this year we're going to only half a camp we're going to do. Like, we're not going to do the rest.
God knows. He knows we got him.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here in Patriots Unfiltered, it's Matisse, Deuce, and me, Matt in the booth. New studio, not 100% yet. We're still waiting for the furniture coming the end of the week. We'll have some tweaks to the monitors behind us and a few other things, but you're getting a sense of what Patriots Unfiltered is going to look like this year.
16 footballs, I think.
That's we got the footballs over there.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah. So very excited about the new setup. Very comfortable.
Footballs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the cool thing about it is that it's going to change a little bit for
other
other
we'll
shows
have
and stuff.
We'll have different sets for different shows, so it's very flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just got to get used to it.
But we're talking about camp, as you saw in the intro to the second half of the show. Camp schedule's already come out, so if you're thinking about coming down to Gillette to go to training camp, at least the first 4 days are out there.
We got July 24th, which is Wednesday, Thursday, July 25th, and Friday, July 26th for the first 3 sessions.
Yeah, and we'll be live. We'll be doing this show live for each of those practices. I think the practices are going to be around 11 in the morning.
Gates at 10, I think, right?
A little later than usual.
Not 8 to 10.
No. Gates open at 10.
Oh, gates
at 10.
Gates open at 10.
Gates at 10.
Practice starts at 11.
I thought you said 8 to 10.
No. Gates.
Yeah.
Get your sunblock. Bring a hat.
Yeah.
You might even an umbrella. It is hot there, but otherwise it's amazing.
Yeah. So excited. Yeah.
2 weeks from tomorrow.
So they only published 3 days?
No, those are just the first 3 days. We got all of them are up. So
okay.
You want me to go through all of them?
Well, yeah, sure.
All right, yeah. We got...
and things are subject to change.
Yes,
just the
subject
caveat
to
there.
change.
Yeah.
So then the next session is Sunday, July 28th, Monday, July 29th, Tuesday, July 30th. Then we got Thursday, August 1st, Friday, August 2nd. Then we got Metallica if you want to come check that out. Saturday, August 3rd, and then Monday, August 5th. Tuesday, August 6th, Patriots versus Panthers preseason, August 8th, and then Monday, August 12th, and joint practice, August 13th.
Okay, we'll stop that. So the joint practice is the 13th.
With the Eagles 2 days after.
Yeah, if there's one that you really want to see, that's the one, right?
It's a good one. I mean, it'll be competitive. I mean, it's so much fun to watch. I was trying to remember all the different joint practices we've done, but those are the highlight of the preseason for sure, especially with a team like Philly, who we did see a few years. What was that? 2022, I guess.
Saw him a few years ago. Played him the opener last year, which was a pretty close game.
Getting familiar with those guys, but yeah, it's hard to believe it's camp's already here and all these it's like you're spinning your wheels and it's like, you get like these points. It's like, oh man, I can't wait for camp, and like as soon as camp starts, we're gonna be like, I can't wait for game.
I know. I'm excited about the season too, but man, life goes too fast.
It does.
It really does. I think the older you get, the faster it goes.
I think that's 100% true.
When you're a kid, like you think about people that are 30. It's like, I'll never be 30. Like you can't even imagine that far into the future. And now it's like,
do you notice it more when
things go by so fast?
Do you notice it when you see other people and you're like, geez, he looks old, and then you're like, I look older too. But like, I always, when you see people your age and you haven't seen them in a while, and then you're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Well, I told Chris I turned 31 on Friday, and Chris Ferrer upstairs was like, I thought you turned 30. I was like, I did a year ago. It feels like yesterday.
30.
No, life goes too fast. So like when you're a kid, you kind of live in every moment. You live for the moment.
Yeah.
And when you're an adult, you're living for like your next paycheck or like our schedule and training camp. You're never living in the moment, and that makes things go too fast.
Yeah, it does. I had a moment with my dad. We were watching some of the. Actually, I showed him the Patriots All Access that they did from Brady night to sum it up, and it was just sitting there, and I was like, just like that, it's over. It was like Tom Brady. Oh man, this young kid, and 20 years, and it's like boom, it's all. And here we are watching him go into the Hall of Fame. Like it just feels like yesterday that I don't know, this kid Brady. I don't know, but Bledsoe's getting his job. Like. It feels like that was yesterday, and I mean, you were here for it. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like to watch it go by live in front of your. I mean, granted we were watching it on TV, but to be so immersed in it like you were, Fred, like every day.
We have to figure out how to experience the metaverse so that we can experience all the different versions of our life at the same time. And,
But it's pretty cool, Fred. I mean, I was thinking about this too. Like you and Paul, like this was one of the greatest runs in sports history. And you guys were in the thick of it. Like if you wanted to work in sports when you were a kid,
it was wild.
You couldn't have gotten a better draw, like to get to follow the Patriots.
I've been to 10 Super Bowls because I went to 96 as well, but in that span, to have gone to 9 Super Bowls.
Can you imagine if you were like covering the Jets in this time? And
also just seeing how big the Super Bowl's gotten since the first couple. Like it was always been big, but it's completely different now.
9 Super Bowls, all those AFC championships.
But you could have been on like the crappiest team in the world for the last 20 years and been like, man, this is sucks. Would you have stuck with
training camp?
Do you think they'll make the playoffs? No playoffs this year. That's for sure.
The Fred of the Browns just has the quarterback jersey.
Right. And like having to to put it through the lens of your job, like every year you're trying to get like a new quarterback hype. Like, all right, this year
let's go.
We got Baker Mayfield this year. Like, let's get behind him, guys. Get the hype. Feel the excitement.
Dude, it's like we're both going on, I think, season 5 now. So like we had 6. You had the Brady training camp, then my first training camp was the COVID training camp. Then you get back and they're not allowed to sign autographs, so it's not really the same training camp. You got Mac. It's just so much stuff has happened in even just such a short period of time.
Right. Oh my God. Right. Every season was different.
That was
had a different reason why it sucked.
But it must seem funny, like now, like things that you complained about along the way, when it's like,
oh yeah,
but man, you could have been covering the Browns,
right? Exactly.
Like, oh, they're not gonna fly. We gotta fly right to the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, more work.
I was thinking about like the Jets the past couple of years. Like their training camp was at some SUNY school in upstate New York. So
Portland, I think.
Does that mean like the content team just gets in the dorms with them? Like
I
pretty blessed.
I mean, if they're lucky to get the dorms, you guys are in the Hojos down the street or something.
Just off topic a little bit. I know Matt Morrell doesn't like Acolyte. I think it's been pretty good.
I haven't started it yet.
All right,
it's good.
I've heard good things.
I gotta admit. All right, hold on, Matt.
Here he goes.
You want to go first? You want me to go first, Matt? You go first.
And make sure you guys can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah.
I like the lightsaber fights. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
No, but I think the storyline is getting pretty good, don't you? I'm up to like episode 5 or 6.
Yeah, I'm only 4 episodes in. And
yeah. That's the fight one, right?
I know you didn't like the lesbian witch coven. But
I did not like the lesbian witches using the Force to impregnate.
It's a witch coven. That's what they are, you know? Like,
I haven't watched, but I saw a guy headbutt a lightsaber. Yeah. That looks pretty cool.
That's awesome. So, I think that stuff's really cool.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. And then anytime you're going to kill like a teenager in the middle of the show, it's like, whoa, all right. Like,
I'm digging it. And the boys are
outrageous. The boys is unbelievable. The boys
outrageous.
Is out right now.
Outrageous.
I got to get back in
that episode 2. You're like, what?
I just watched the last episode of my girlfriend.
The sauna scene.
Like, what are you watching? Like, literally, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
It's just
in trouble.
More or less.
Jeez.
Yeah. So those are the 2 things that I'm watching regularly now.
Do you watch Hacks? I watch Hacks. I got to throw my Hacks in there. I've been watching Hacks.
I have not watched Hacks. I don't even know what it is.
Did you watch the new Beverly Hills Cop?
Gene Smart.
It's a movie, right?
Yeah. I did watch that.
Yeah, I watched the original one.
Okay, what I love about the you didn't watch the new one?
I need to watch the new one.
So what I love about the new one is like they literally just took all the music. They just same music, and I'm like, that's brilliant. You got Axel Foley, you got all the same music. It's obviously the same setting.
Yeah.
What else? And it's a little detective show. Like it's great. I'm watching Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you're not gonna fall for the banana in the tailpipe.
Exactly. I mean, is it hilarious? Nah, all right. But
it's. You want to be entertained. You're entertained.
I watched it. We watched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Anyone see Biker Boys?
No, not yet.
The Bike Riders?
The Bike Riders. Is that what it's called?
No, I haven't seen it. I
have Austin Hooper, huh?
Yeah. I want to. It looked intriguing to me.
I think I'm next for Twisters. That's going to be the next thing I see in the movie.
Oh,
come on. Did you not like the original Twisters?
No, not necessarily.
Oh, you're killing me, Fred.
It was just a Twister.
A Twister. Sorry, just Twister.
Necessarily.
No, that's a while. Like Helen Hunt. Is Helen Hunt back? Did they get Helen Hunt?
Yeah,
back
Helen Hunt. Was it Helen Hunt and Kevin Bacon?
No, it was Bill Paxton.
Oh, Bill Paxton.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Hicks. Or no, Hudson. Sorry, Hudson.
All right. Just wanted to see what everyone's watching these days.
I know. Well, I feel like I finally have had a chance during like vacation to watch a little Wimbledon, catch up on some shows.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's all going to go by the wayside in about 2 weeks
forget it.
from now.
Let's
Helen
go.
Hunt is not in the cast.
Oh.
Big miss. Big miss.
Her face will be in one of the twisters.
It's not like her long lost son leading it. Like
Yeah.
I think it's just a complete reboot, right? Yeah. So,
Well, there's a Gladiator 2. I just saw a
that
Gladiator
trailer
2
looks awesome.
ad,
Gladiator
I'm all in.
and so
That
it looks
trailer
like
looks
it's
awesome.
the kid from the Gladiator 1. I think I couldn't.
They
hear
make
the
it
full
look like
volume.
that. Denzel looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be dope.
I like Gladiator. I don't.
It's like a 3-minute, 40-second
Gladiator
trailer.
was
Fred,
a
watch
classic
that.
movie.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was like, you know.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
Didn't it
Denzel,
win the
Pedro
wait.
Pascal. You can't. That's a great cast.
Fred, did you see the F1 trailer? The F1 trailer
No.
with Brad Pitt.
No.
It's being
I heard he actually drives
Yes,
the car.
it's being done by the guy who did Top Gun Maverick, and
Oh.
it's coming out next summer, and it's a F1 thing. They filmed it all like in the pit of like it's all real stuff. Like
F1 is like getting bigger than NASCAR now, right?
Yeah.
I know it is worldwide,
It's-
but in the United States, it's getting bigger, right?
that movie's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's getting huge. Like
Is F1 the one through like city streets?
In
Yeah.
Europe,
It's like
it is.
low,
And-
Yeah, so
right?
they
Like
do-
Well, like
Monaco.
here
They
they
did
did it
Miami,
in Miami
Vegas.
Stadium. They did it in Vegas.
Okay.
I
you
hope
go
they do.
out-
I hope
oh,
they do
yeah,
it.
yeah,
In,
Vegas. Right.
I hope they
Okay.
do it in Boston, so they pave the roads.
Yeah.
Like it'll be a good.
Oh my God! You imagine in Boston
Going down to North End.
No left turn. Yeah.
But yeah, watch the F1 trailer after the show.
Okay. All
Brad
right.
Pitt, I'll watch it.
Let's get back to the phones. 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Fidel's in Tampa. What's up, Fidel? Thanks for holding on.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing
Hey,
good.
Fidel.
Good. I have two quick things. I hate to steer it back to football, but the NFL's lawsuit came to an end about the Sunday ticket package.
Yes.
Yep.
I think that happened last week. I think you guys talked about this, but I wanted to know, like, what do you think is going to happen? Is that going to be like?
I think it's going to be years of
Appeals.
of appeals,
Yeah.
and I don't think that each team is going to have to pay $477 million.
Oh, really? Because they'd have to pony it up.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. The league has been very strong saying that it was a ridiculous finding. Take that for what it's worth. I just don't think that settlement's going to hold. There might be something else that gets settled, but this is going to be years down the road. There's going to be appeal after appeal after appeal.
Wasn't it every person's gonna get $4,000 or something?
Oh, I want some money because if this was me when I was in LA, but you got to buy the whole Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
You couldn't just get Patriots games. You
I
had to
saw-
buy the whole shebang for whatever it was.
I think it's each person gets 4,000. So
Well,
I'm sure.
I don't know how I can get 4,000 if I only paid like 300.
Yeah.
But if you say that,
But I would
I'll
have.
take
I would have done more.
I'll
if
take my
we-
4,000.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's.
Maybe I just
what
go right
was
upstairs
the
and get that
finding?
for-
Like 4.7 billion
Yeah,
or
it's
something like
crazy.
that. That's
Crazy.
kind of.
Oh, it was a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what do you think, Fidel?
Well, I was more interested in like the aspect of new rules and new players. Like they would like lower the cost or be able to follow a specific team. Like if I could just pay $100 and be able to watch the Patriots games, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
Instead of just paying $400 or $500.
And like I'm not even
Jaguars.
I'm not up on the case, but what are they saying that the league did wrong?
I think
Well, they
basically
broke
that you should be able to get.
antitrust laws.
What?
So they broke
They
antitrust.
broke
laws.
some antitrust laws by having a monopoly or something specific.
Okay.
Well, I think it was just basically related to having to buy every team's games. So it was all you had to buy the whole package. You couldn't just buy your team. That's all I know.
Yeah, but that to me that was something extra that they were offering. In your home market, you can still watch every one of your team's
Yep.
games.
Yes.
Yep.
That's I think historically how they've gotten
Yeah.
around the antitrust rules is that they've always had in your market free TV for your team's games.
Yeah.
And that never stopped. So I'm just, like Sunday Ticket was like a bonus thing. Okay, in addition to that, if you want to pay, you can get all the games.
Yeah.
You know?
They're saying that they broke antitrust. Oh, pop up. Hold on.
Right. Thank you.
Broke antitrust laws. Sorry, 1 second.
Got that.
Because they inflated price, and subscribers say that the league restricted competition by offering Sunday Ticket on satellite only.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
'cause it was
I
only on
literally
Dish.
I got DirecTV just to get the Sunday ticket, and put the satellite dish up and everything.
Yeah. Well,
You're moving
I'm
it.
a fan. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
And then I also have one last thing. I love Matt editing all these new intros, but could we please get some of the retro ones in? The ones that I missed the most were the ones of Paul telling the story about his brother getting punched in the shower. That one so much. I don't think I've heard that one in like 2 years.
He's making a note right now.
What did you say? His brother got punched in the shower?
Yeah, his father.
Yeah, it's a great story.
His father came in and was yelling at Paul. It had to do with alcohol, and his brother was taking a shower, and like he said something snarky, and his father right through the shower curtain knocked him out in the shower. He said, "My brother's lying nude in the shower."
Just Peter Griffin laying down.
Yeah. So.
Oh man, that's a Paul story for sure. I love it.
See you guys.
All right, thanks Fidel.
I think my dream NFL viewing experience would be Red Zone, but you're able to pin your game in the corner.
Oh yeah.
Because especially when the Pats were like in their heyday on Red Zone, they're never on the TV because you're beating the Titans 59-0, so I'm always watching the game. But as a Pats fan, I want to be able to always be able to check in. I know this will never happen, but if you could pin your game and just have Scott Hansen do the rest of Red Zone in the background, it would be unbelievable.
Well, we've kind of talked in the past, Fred, you've mentioned it, of like, why couldn't you just have like a subscription to your team's package? And it's not just your team's games, but it's all your team's content, and you have access to any NFL films thing ever made about your team. And, like it's almost like you're in a little bit of a club kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of tailor it to you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get where the fans are coming from that just want to see their team, but at the same time, it's like the NFL is this giant thing. And
it's funny being on the website.
Take all the games.
Because you get the people in Western Mass who are in Massachusetts, but then they're getting Jets games because they're like right on the border. And
yeah,
you're
but
like,
they like the Giants a lot of the times too.
Yeah.
Those guys, Connecticut. I mean, forget about it.
Yeah.
Giants fans down there.
I mean, there's a lot of rules in the NFL that are a little antiquated, and some of them were made when, it was more important to sell out your stadium than it was to have a huge TV audience.
Yeah.
And a lot of the rules were to protect the home market, like there were days in New England or in Massachusetts where you had to go to New Hampshire to watch the Patriots because of the blackout rule, which they don't have anymore. But if your stadium wasn't sold out, like I think within 48 hours of the game, you couldn't show it on TV.
Wow.
So people would literally drive up to New Hampshire, rent a motel room to watch the Patriots.
Instead of just buying a ticket and going to the game.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to go to that.
I'm
going to New Hampshire.
I'm not going to that dump. Yeah. But that was the thing. Like they're trying to force people to buy tickets. Now your ticket revenue is just gravy.
Yeah.
You make your money on everything else.
Yeah.
So some of the rules need to be changed, Let's see. webradio@patriots.com is the email address. Alex in North Carolina. I'm with Matt on this. Lightsaber fights were great. Acting is subpar. He's talking about The Acolyte. Story is average. I had much higher hopes for the show. It's fine. It's
fine.
Is it adult based? Like I know Andor was.
It's a little bit more adult,
weird.
I think.
That's what's weird. I think is that in the initial episodes it feels a little bit more kid Disney, and then all of a sudden they have this giant fight and like two main characters.
It's like a CW show.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
It's a teenage show. It's more for like 18 to 20-year-olds.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
The last Star Wars thing that stands out to me was I think it was the Obi-Wan Leia running away.
And
the chase in the bushes.
Terrible.
Oh, that was awful. Terrible. I mean, come on, Disney, you can't make that look more real.
We can't get her.
She's like ducking on the branches, and they're like, "Oh my God, a branch!" Yeah, like that was terrible.
I think The Mandalorian is the gold standard of that, and Rogue One of new Star Wars productions.
But I kind of like the whole backstory of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I was.
How he was brought up by the Tusken Raiders and all that. I thought that was pretty cool.
I thought that was okay. I thought that one was okay. I felt a little bit like over the. I love fan service in select moments. Like I love in the beginning of Mandalorian where you at the very first episode you heard the carbon freezing chamber from Empire Strikes Back, and I was like, oh my God, like they know exactly what they're doing. Like I like those subtle hints, but like if it's going to be over the top and we're trying to connect everything and just to put stuff on for fans, then I don't know. But that's why this new show, it's like it's all new. Like we're way before all those times, and so
this is 100 years before the first Star Wars.
You're getting to see a little bit of that stuff. I don't know. I just wonder if, and I felt like this would happen once Disney took it, that it's just too much. Like Star Wars was good when it's a little bit, it's like show after show after show, and they're not all going to be magical and cool. I think this one has moments, and but I watched. There's a couple episodes.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I'm eager to see the next episode.
Yeah.
Ted's in Las Vegas. I just watched Danny Parkins on Fox's The Herd. He was filling in for Colin Coward. Parkins, I guess it's Parkins, gave his top 10 quarterbacks he would start a team with. Number 10 was Trevor Lawrence. But Parkins said Lawrence was a tough decision, and his first quarterbacks out of his top 10 were Anthony Richardson and Drake Maye.
Wow.
So they were like 11 and 12?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's pretty crazy.
That's really high. Because wasn't there some...
Where's he got Caleb Williams?
Poll on
Daniels.
the Twitter that was going around that Drake Maye was the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Oh, geez. I didn't see
The
that poll.
Anthony Richardson one's interesting because how many games he played? Like 3 or 4?
Yeah.
They're pretty excited. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's definitely the grass is greener, because he's so athletic.
Right.
People,
Well, that's the funny thing about, like, what's it going to take to have positive things? It's like, I don't know, maybe he plays, like, 2 great games and then is lost for the year, and then you're like, we got him. Like, we got our guy. But,
Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I know. That's, like, you don't know, like, what you don't know. So, he's amazing.
Yeah, the Colts might be, like, the Cinderella of a lot of people. The Cinderella
they
pick.
Potentially could have pulled a Texans. I mean,
No,
they're
I
in the
know.
same division, but
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh, we get to watch Anthony Richardson in Germany and get Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'll get to see him this year.
They could be the sleeper
There's just,
team.
like, all these guys, though, it just goes back to there's a lot of good young quarterbacks, and I'm, like, off the top of my head trying to think of which teams right now don't have a promising young quarterback. Like, I mean, they're obvious
The
ones.
Giants.
The Giants,
But
like
then,
that.
think about
The
I don't
Jets.
Know, you think about the Panthers, like with Bryce Young. Like, is he gonna bounce back? Like, you forget about him.
So
He was
there's
the
a
number
great
pick.
one. That's a great one. Like, no one's afraid of Carolina, but, like, he is the first overall pick from last year. So I don't know. It used to, maybe I'm just going back to the days when it's like, all right, if we're not playing Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, or like one of those guys, like, I don't care. Like, but now it's like every single quarterback almost around the league, except for a handful of teams, has some kind of promise. I mean, you said Aaron Rodgers, that he's definitely not young, but, like, he's good.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
No,
I'm saying because he's not young.
Yeah, like, but and I don't want to say, like, teams that they believe in their quarterback, because I don't know if these teams do believe in their quarterback, but it's like Atlanta, the Giants. Like, there's just a handful of teams that.
I mean, the only teams that don't scare are like the Broncos and maybe the Raiders.
Broncos
right
a
now.
good one.
Like the Raiders. Is it Minshew?
The Raiders. That's it'd probably be the kid from
O'Connell?
last year. O'Connell. Yeah,
O'Connell. Yeah,
Aiden
those
O'Connell.
are 2.
That's a
teams,
good one.
But other than that, everybody's like.
Or got somebody young that they're still waiting to
Feel the
find out
Vikings
if
look with
they're
McCarthy.
going to be good or not. I mean, Richardson's a great example of a guy who seems like he could maybe change that dynamic in the AFC South, where everybody just seems like after last year wants to hand it to Houston.
Yeah. Dan in Virginia and Michigan. Studio looks good. Those chairs look a bit too comfy, though. Where's the good money in terms of betting which member of the podcast falls asleep on air first? That's Paul, right? It's got to be Paul.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Post-game show at a night game.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
We'll be in our other shares for that one, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We'll be like, well, there's only, like, one night game. So we could suck
That's
it up.
true, yeah.
Maybe the morning game for the.
I think the preseason games are going to be the hardest one.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't wait for that preseason game. That was so fun last year when we came in, like, early morning for the Germany game. We were kind of, still jet lagged, a little out of it. But, I mean, it was the best part of that game was the pregame.
Matt played the interview with Brian Hoyer during the PU halftime. They discussed the assist Hoyer gave the defense with his experience with McVay's offenses. Given how thin the margin was and how much the defense credited Hoyer's insights with helping them win, do you think the Patriots still win that game without Hoyer? Maybe not.
Which game is that? What are we talking about?
I don't know.
I don't know what
McVay. So he
the
said
Rams. Did so Hoyer help get? I didn't hear this part of it.
No.
I guess he helped them get ready for. I don't know. I think the story of that game was the defense, and the Rams couldn't do anything. But I mean, I guess that feeds into it. It's the same thing with who was the guy that did Peyton Manning in 2003? Same thing. Everybody gave him a ton of credit. One of the backup quarterbacks.
Heward.
Damon Heward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good one, Tease.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was actually a very smart quarterback.
What do you think Hoyer's future is? Is he still on a team or like?
No.
He was on Good Morning Football a little bit. I think
you might see him around the team this preseason. I don't want to give away anything.
He's a player I didn't like on team, but I've grown to like him a bit more. I used to not be a fan of him, especially back when he sliced Brady. Was it
Hoyer?
Oh no, that was Burkhead. Sorry, but also I was a fan of Hoyer. He just We were 1 and 2 at Super Bowls with him. Just like I was like, he's a bad luck charm, but I've grown to like him.
Hoyer had a good line that they picked up on All Access right before they were waiting on the stage to go on before Brady, and he was like, "Man, his real Hall of Fame induction is going to be like nothing compared to it's going to be like a letdown compared to this. Like, what could you possibly do?"
I just don't see it being as special.
Well, plus it's not just him.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel bad for the people in class.
I don't know. I guess I'm being a little sacrilegious here, but I really find those Canton ceremonies boring.
Yeah.
Boring as hell. You know, oh, so-and-so got up and he cried during his... They all cry. You know, it's the same speeches. It's the same message.
There's a
and
bad
it's great for them.
game.
Listen, I get it. It's the highest individual honor in the NFL and all that, and I'm happy for everyone that gets inducted. But as an event, I find it boring. I'm sorry.
Have you been?
No.
Just
watch on TV.
Yeah, me too. No, I mean, certain players I like. I like to hear what they have to say. I mean, I do think some of the speeches are pretty good, but yeah, I mean, would we do a whole thing for that? I mean, we just kind of be there to observe and report, right? It's just not going to be.
We'll blow it out. We'll go and there's a party. You know, that's the
thing.
Could be
back-to-back years.
It's so funny because nowadays you get inducted to the Hall of Fame, and it's almost like you have to go on a fundraising tour to fund your party afterwards.
Really.
It's like there's like a competition that like who can have the best party after the day.
Let's do it at Michael Rubin's house.
Yeah.
Well, if Bill doesn't get another job, they could be back-to-back years. It
could be
big guys going in.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see.
What would he be? 28? Brady? 2028?
What is it, 5 years?
It's 5 years.
5 years? Yeah.
So this is one. No, this is two. So three years from now?
7.
27?
Yeah. First ballot, right?
You think so?
Like, tell me in that room who's not voting on the first ballot. I'll punch him in the head. You know, because that would be ridiculous.
Oh man!
You know, you and your principles.
One last spiteful move from Goodell.
Yeah.
Does Bill Polian have a vote?
Yeah, somebody like that, right. You know, or somebody from Indianapolis. Like, what's that guy? Is that Greg Doyle? Is that his name? Does he have a vote?
Well, no. I mean, he got nothing right now because he had like some awkward interaction with Caitlin Clark, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah. Creep. Speaking Fresno, tonality-wise, Evan's take on fruit is the most Eric thing about him so far. Although for Eric, the specific aversion would be to eating meat while watching football and having a girlfriend. Anyway,
that's good.
I love Jacoby Myers as a Patriot. And in retrospect, his excommunication to Vegas seems like another nail in the coffin of Bill's GMing. But at the same time, I thought Juju would be a slight upgrade, maybe replacing a 3 with a 2. Boy, was I wrong. Looking back, if we were to sneak into Bill's mind, which of the following reasons do you guess factored in most when he foolishly sent Jacoby packing? That Myers sided with Mack in the Mack versus Patricia conflict, the lateral to Chandler Jones, Jacoby's lack of touchdown receptions, or being an undrafted free agent? I think number one. I think number one. I think he wasn't all in the locker room.
I think the Myers thing was interesting too because he was great for us, but the franchise tag for receiver is so ridiculous. You're not going to pay Jacoby Myers, was it $33 billion?
No,
or it's a lot for 1 year. That you can't pay
no,
him
and that's
that.
not him. That's not him. I mean, I do think. I mean, and I was right with Spee. Same thing. Like then Evan too. Like all three of us were all just like terrible take. We were wrong to ever think that Juju would replace. But I mean, the thing I did say at the time, which I still kind of think, is that I think he felt like we need to get more explosive. And I know that's a joke right now when you compare it to Juju, but I think that was probably some of the thinking too, was that we're not going to overextend ourselves for, you know, a guy who's certainly reliable to Mac, but, you know, isn't a true game changer. Now, I could have a field day arguing against that now, but at the time that was kind of my thinking.
My biggest disappointment is that that's an undrafted free agent who bought in.
That's
homegrown. He called into the
Elliot
show
Wolf
after the
Elliot Wolf
games.
3-year deal. He would have had a 3-year deal.
How is that not the guy that you want in the
because
locker
of
room?
that? Because of he went against Bill,
and I think that's probably one of the reasons Bill's not here anymore.
He spoke out.
Yeah,
he spoke out at least 2 times that we know of, and if we know of 2 times, probably there's more that we don't know about.
Well, it's also crazy because you're going against Bill, but like when he scored his first touchdown when Hoyer threw it, the whole like he was clearly loved in the locker room. The whole team ran to him. Like,
Yeah.
So it's that's a frustrating thing to see.
Yeah,
it is frustrating. And I mean, Jacoby was a great guy, and I mean, was again productive in the Raiders with a tumultuous season there.
Looked like
as
a
well.
new player. He looked like a completely different player.
It's no, it's disappointing. I hear everything you say though about the undrafted rookie who was there in the big moments and all that stuff. It's just it's unfortunate. I'd love to still have him here, but again, like, do you think Pop Douglas might be the better player than Jacoby Myers? Like, I don't know if
very
he'll get out
different.
there as much.
They're very different. I mean, you're not going to get the dynamic plays that we hope Pop Douglas is going to give us going forward, but he was reliable, Myers.
Oh, yeah.
He was
Yeah.
reliable.
No, I would never.
Slow of the break, but he was always there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, yeah.
Flying
and
through the air,
think
catching
about
the
it, like,
ball.
they were easy to defend back then, but still he got his catches.
Yep.
One of my favorite things, I think he said he wanted to come here as an undrafted free agent because N'Keal Harry was a first-round pick, and he wanted to prove that he was just as good, if not better, than a first-rounder.
Yeah.
I like that
mindset.
I like that swag.
Love that.
Yeah. Alex in North Carolina. Deuce. I've also been watching more tennis this tournament.
Let's go.
Alcaraz is ridiculous, and Tyler Fritz is finding his footing. He is. Big win against Zverev. I would love to hear Fred's take about our American tennis stars on men's and women's side. How good do you think they are? Well, we're not going to do that here, but we can have a tennis show later on.
Did you watch Challengers?
No. Well, sometimes. But I think Djokovic also showed his
Oh, what
thin
was
skin.
that? What was
so
that?
he's playing Runa. His name is Runa, this kid, right? His last name?
Is he British?
No, he's he's Dutch.
Okay.
Or something like that. So he's young, he's good looking, so the fans are cheering for him and they're going Runa. And Djokovic thought they were booing him.
I heard
And he starts,
he said the whole thing afterwards.
He's got the rabbit ear. So during the thing, he's like, what? They weren't booing him. Yeah. So then afterwards, he's doing his on-court interview, and the guy's like, I hope you understand that they were probably, Runa. He goes, no, I don't accept that. I know when someone's booing. They were booing me. It's like, no, they weren't.
Right, and then he did like the violin thing too.
Well, that
like,
was for his kid
who's
who's taking violin lessons.
Oh, all right.
That was.
I thought he
different.
was like the smallest violin.
No.
in the world.
That was different. That was for his kid. But like they were saying Runa.
Yeah.
Like, good thing you weren't playing Brewski because they would have, like he thought they were booing him, and he's got such thin skin.
Yeah.
The reason why people don't get behind him is because he asks for people to get behind him.
Yeah.
Like you can't do that. It's got to be natural. Like you can't complain when people don't applaud for you more than your opponent. That's the worst thing you can do. Now they're, it's like begging for, for
like
fans.
me, please applause. Like
yeah,
me, love me.
Yeah, please clap.
Please clap.
So that was bad. Like somebody, I don't want to get.
That was
into
funny.
it. Like people will be like, Fred, stop talking about tennis. All right, I will. But we'll do it at some other point. But he has a football question. Does Alex? If Bill was still here, do you think he would have drafted Drake Maye at 3, or would he have taken a different position altogether? I'm torn as to what he would have done, but I do wonder if this is a quarterback he would have chose.
I would lean no. I would lean no, and I mean, I think a trade down. I think he would really be intrigued by Joe Alt. I think like a player like that, like
well, okay, but
kind of player.
Let's go back a little bit to the end of the season. They finished the same way they finished, but somehow, some way, they've got that post-season meeting, and Bill talks Robert Kraft to say, "Here's the reasons why things happen." Blah blah blah. Let's take another run at this. And he talks Robert Kraft into doing it.
Yep.
Okay, so now that's your setting.
Keeping Mac?
No.
Okay.
We don't know that yet.
Okay.
We just to keep Bill.
Okay.
So Robert's been talked into keeping Bill. So now the offseason goes as it has. You got the same pick, obviously. Does Bill look at this any differently? And does he say, you know what? We're done with Mac.
Yes.
You think he would?
Yeah.
I think he was done with Mac. I think he would. I think Kirk Cousins. I think
don't think he'd
trade
pay.
down.
Oh,
I
so you
Joe
think
Alt.
he's done with Mac, but he wouldn't have picked Drake May?
I think
No, I think he would've-
or JJ.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think the JJ is not a bad idea either. I mean, I could, I think he'd be trying to get him a little later, maybe.
I also want to just state
trade
real
down?
quick that it's tough because we know the way the board dropped, but remember people thought Penix was going to go in round 2.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
went number 8,
Right.
so it's just
No, the JJ McCarthy one is a good one because more NFL ready.
Yeah.
But see, I
more
think,
of a pocket passer.
But I think Fred, if he's to talk Robert Kraft into this, it's not a long term thing. Like, I mean, you're this is it. Like,
You
okay,
gotta win
you
now.
got one more year. And that's why I think they make a push for Kirk Cousins. He gets a veteran quarterback. Maybe allows Bill O'Brien to round out his staff and hire the guys that he wants. And then, go with Alt. And I don't even know about the quarterback, because if you get Kirk Cousins for a couple of years, what difference does it make? But they still took Penix.
What about all the signings?
Yeah.
Do they sign all these guys back that they did?
That's
no.
a great question.
Do they give Barmer the deal? Do they give Hunter Henry and Stevenson?
I could see Hunter. I think Hunter Henry, I would say yes, because there wasn't anything there. He loves tight ends. I think that was an easy one.
Tavai, all the guys on defense.
I could see Tavai. I mean, I have a harder time with Barmore, just because big deal, and
I think Barmore just stands his ground. I think the deal gets done, but it's like a huge.
Here's a question, Fred. Is this Bill Belichick with the money, or Elliot Wolf with the money? Like, does it make a difference? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's Robert Kraft's money. So, like, with that contract, like, would Bill Belichick be like, I'm not going to do that much, but Elliot Wolf says I will do that much? Or is it,
well,
we got to go get it approved by Robert what we want?
A lot of times, Bill not spending money wasn't just because of the money. It was because of the order of the locker room.
Yeah.
It's because if I give this guy this money, I disrupt the locker room. And there's a pecking order that I think Bill always paid attention to.
Yeah.
Who's making the most at each position? Who's making the most overall? And does that make sense to keep the locker room right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times it wasn't just too much money. It was who I'm paying that to.
We'll tie that to Myers then, too,
Yeah.
which just kind of shows some of the wishy-washy nature of how things kind of went at the end, where you didn't quite know what you were going to get.
But this is like this exercise that we're doing right now, to me, tells us why Bill's not here anymore. All this complication, So like if let's just say they had that meeting at the end and he talks Robert into keeping him, there has to be conditions, right? So is one of the conditions that Elliott is more involved? Like you don't have the pocketbook anymore. You're not making all the personnel decisions. So.
But there's also like the fact that, and I don't know if Bill knew this, but it was in Gerard's contract, right?
That eventually,
like
it
that
didn't have to be this year.
So that whole thing would continue to kind of hang over his head too, which makes me wonder.
Did we get confirmed that it was in his contract that was true?
Did
someone
that's one of those things I heard it? And
I know. So I don't know if that's
you make the jump to it, but
I think the interesting pick, obviously the number 3, but I think that second round pick would have been. I don't think it would have been Polk if Bill was here.
Probably defense, maybe, or a tackle,
safety,
or just a fourth round receiver.
No, Cooper DeJean, I think was available, and that would have been no. But I think to Fred's point of conditions, like you have to address the offense. You cannot just buy a bunch of defensive guys in free agency and in the draft. Like we need to address this.
There was too much to be done. It was time.
Yeah,
it was time, and I know all the Bill bots out there are attacking me on Twitter now as we speak, but it was time.
Yeah.
As much as Bill did for this organization, I'll be forever grateful. It was time.
And it was a lot of things too. This was another one of the questions in the mailbag, and it's like and so many of these points that we talked about over the last 5 years of, why did it fall apart? And it's it's easy to point to misdraft.
The real question is, how did it stay together for over 20 years?
Right.
That's the real question.
Yeah.
That's the real question.
Because I said by the time you got to 17, 18, 19, like those 3 years, the snowball was going down the mountain now. And it was getting bigger and bigger, and the lack of talent and the coaching departures. And then, and I think what was just so jarring to me was I just always felt like when we talked about this Brady Belichick stuff, that we could always at least count on a Bill Belichick team to not beat themselves.
Yeah.
Like that was just my baseline of like, as long as
they're
he's
going
here,
to be well coached.
That's what our special sauce is. And that's what will make this place still special after Tom Brady, that we'll have a well-prepared team, that will have good game plans. They won't make stupid mistakes. They won't decide to throw a lateral in a tie game with and that's where you ended up.
And that's where they ended up. And then special teams. Okay, everything else is terrible. Special teams is going to be good.
And
they
were terrible too.
That was terrible too.
That's a great point too,
Fred.
Fred.
Like what was going on?
So many of the things that if you would ask me in 2020 when we were talking about Bill and Tom and everyone was making fun of me for, being, kind of like the same thing you're saying about Bill was how I felt, where it was just time, but now it's like you look back and it's like all the signs were there, but I just never would have expected that they would have fallen that badly with just the simple football stuff. Big decisions in the critical moments, and they just became a team that couldn't do that anymore.
Yep. Eric writes in, let's see, where's he from? New Jersey. And he says a few weeks ago, someone, I think it was Spee, wrote in asking how the crew would compare to the Seinfeld characters. The gang entertained the game for a second, but then moved on, saying there wasn't a good fit. I disagree. The answer is simple. Fred is Seinfeld, good-natured and successful. Fred's immaturity hides his rudeness. Of course, Fred's likability is the reason we all keep coming back. Fred provides a great setting for the other three oddballs. Paul is George, Fred's foil. Paul is both hot-headed and neurotic. He has a lot of useless information and is an underachiever. Most importantly, like George and Seinfeld, he is the true star of the show. Mike is Kramer. Mike has a lot of quirky stories and perspectives. His grandpa knew Ted Williams. He once burned down his parents' cabin, straight from a Seinfeld episode. It's true. And he once came on the show completely loopy from lack of sleep. Also, like Kramer, Mike tried to make it in Hollywood for a while.
That's true.
That's
All
true.
right. You
Very
got me.
good.
You sold me. You sold me. I'm Kramer.
Evan is Elaine. I would like to venture to guess he is the worst dancer in the group. Compared to Fred's other two sidekicks, he seems relatively sane. Also, he's the least masculine. That's pretty good. Pretty good, Eric from New Jersey.
That is pretty good, Eric.
This character comp also dovetails with something Evan said 2 weeks ago that bumped me. Is that a kid thing?
Yeah.
He bumped me?
Oh, I've heard that before.
Oh, really?
Something bumped me a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. He thinks putting IKEA furniture together is a manly job and a worthy accomplishment. Putting IKEA furniture together is Legos for adults. Only one tool is required, and that puny little Allen wrench comes in the box. This activity requires no grit, strength, or ingenuity.
Oh, that's
Eric. That's a damn good email.
That is pretty funny.
That's a damn good email.
We didn't answer that because you weren't here.
Yeah,
we needed your take.
But speaking of that, I don't know if you guys ever got to this, but we were talking about mowing lawn.
Oh, let's go.
When you mow a lawn, there's that sense of accomplishment. You know, man.
Yeah.
Jason in Rocky Hill, Connecticut, sends in a poem about that.
A poem about mowing?
Yeah, this is a poem by Douglas Mallock, and he says, "The man who never had," you got to say this in the Ted Baxter, you know, or
man who could grin.
"The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began."
Oh.
So that's Evan.
I love it. Put it on my gravestone. Well, that was me, Fred, because the last few days I've had a staycation, which I haven't done in a while, and it's been amazing, but it's time to get stuff done around the house, and I did mulch along my walkway. So this has been a project.
You did mulch
I
around
mulched along my walkway up to my front steps.
Okay.
But when we moved in,
Now,
there were these...
hold on. Black mulch, brown mulch?
Brown mulch.
Brown
Went with
mulch.
the brown.
Okay,
Had to go
not
with the
cedar
brown.
red?
Didn't go with the cedar red.
Okay.
I went with the dark stuff. But
yeah.
When we first moved in, we had these old shrubs that were all, they're kind of like, not like pine trees, but kind of needles on it. They're just gross. And there were like 8 of them. They were all dead. They've been picked apart. So, over the last 6 months, I bought like a little chainsaw, took those things just out. Like I didn't get a stump grinder, did it myself, a little chainsaw, got it out. And then this weekend I put down a weed mat and put down my mulch. I did a before and after picture, and I was like, and it's like, it's so simple. Like it was, I probably spent $50 at Home Depot on mulch and weed cover.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did I wait this long to do it? But I just sat there and, admired and then I mowed my lawn 2 days ago, and I'm like, the mowed lawn with the mulch. And I'm like,
did you reward yourself with a high noon?
Oh, I sure did, Tease.
I've taken the land and I've molded it to the shape that I want.
That's what I was doing. But another part of those, we have that knotweed. I always bring up that Japanese knotweed, which is just a fight.
Japanese knotweed.
What's that?
It's this invasive species that's like all around, and I notice it everywhere now, but it's a problem.
Well, on the Cape with the invasive species, they're everywhere.
I don't see the knotweed as much, but it's kind of like bamboo, and it just it shoots and it goes everywhere. And
and it's got the green broad leaves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah,
they're
everywhere.
easy to knock down, but they just keep coming back.
They just keep coming back, and it's an unending battle. Like the people who lived before us. I guess they planted it because back in like the 70s, it was like a ground cover thing. So it's, but like you're reading that poem, I'm like picturing myself like hacking knotweed away, like, my struggle.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, on the Cape, there's a lot of invasive species.
Invasive
species.
Yeah.
Right.
Invasive species.
Yeah.
With Rodney Harrison.
We get a lot of turtles that come up from the pond to lay their eggs.
Oh, we
got like 4 or 5 of them.
The box turtles. We have Audubon, like always. Blocking off their eggs and stuff.
Yeah, but like within a day, some animal came and digs them up and eats it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
little leathery, but all right. Turtle eggs.
Yeah, I would say, like, if I was an animal, I think turtle eggs would be my go-to.
No, it's just
It'd
like
be sort of like
eggs.
chicken
It's
wings.
easy.
Eggs all taste the same.
Isn't it like when the turtles are hatched, they have the free fall to the water?
Yeah.
But you're not allowed as a human to like help them.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
it's
super
tempting
illegal.
because
Oh,
we
is
had
that
it in
right?
our yard, and you just have like 20
Because
baby
it's open season
turtles
for all the birds.
are just going, and I know. All of a sudden, it's like they pop out one day.
You
Remember
can
my
get a
old
huge
house?
fine.
Go really? You can't even touch them.
Yeah, you can't
Well,
touch
they'll
them.
still snap you though. You gotta watch out.
Yeah.
Snap. You get the snapping turtles. Those things they get you. They get your finger.
Yeah. Okay. So a lot
Got
of
some good
people
snakes too. Got a
writing
couple
about
good gardener snakes.
Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
No House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I
But-
tried, Tease. I tried. Watched the
Can't
first
do
like
it?
10 minutes of it. I'm like, I just don't care.
My issue is they're all the same name. I
Yeah.
don't know who's who.
Yeah.
I'm just watching.
Well,
They have
speaking of
blonde
shows,
hair.
Pascal writes about Star Wars. The story was lacking in places where they should have understood the Force better. No way a Sith or Jedi Master wouldn't immediately recognize their apprentice's dark side in light side energy.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I haven't watched all the episodes. I think he's referring to some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
Just give me another movie. I'm done with the shows.
Trent, couple quick things. He says, as Fred would say, the way you do a Five Guys hot dog is with mustard relish, raw onion, bacon, jalapenos, and cheese. Perfecto. That's too much.
That's a lot. Of hot
And Paul, you are wrong. Stevenson has made major impacts on games. He single-handedly won the game in 2022 for Vegas. All right.
He did start it. He doesn't get enough crap for that. Like, I don't even know if anyone asked him about it. Like, what were you thinking there? I mean, it's tight game.
I think he was thinking that the other two people were going to ladder, or Jacoby was going to ladder.
My favorite though is like imagining Jacoby's of like, well, we're doing it. Like what did he think? Like, it couldn't have been anything that was mentioned before that point. Like Ramondo just went rogue.
They
right?
watched
Like,
The Longest Yard the day before, the schoolyard BS.
Yeah, it's almost like they thought they were losing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Such a tough
Exactly.
sports day.
Yeah.
It's a tie game.
Just don't turn the ball over,
my
and the
God.
game keeps playing.
And that's the difference, is that the Patriots never used to do that stuff.
Right.
I know. And if there was
The
one
other team
clip,
would.
Yeah,
no, if there was
exactly.
one clip that you could that sums up the decline
that.
of that team, it's that.
But then it was also, wasn't that the week one fumble against Miami? They did again against the Bengals. I think that's the same year. It's just,
Yeah.
there's always something.
No, there was untimely mistakes.
Todd in Garner, North Carolina. If you are correct and Bill was eyeing the money, was he capped by Crafts to include his salary in the overall money paid out? Or was Bill trying to ensure that he just maintained a specific level to justify his own salary? Was always curious about how Bill's compensation affected or didn't affect the team. It's a good question.
We've talked about that. I don't know. It just seems like a conflict of interest to me to like, well, any money you don't spend, you get. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like that seems like a
It
conflict
seems like
of
it should have been
interest. Like,
separate.
Yeah.
However, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, Kraft at some point said, well, I shouldn't have to have the highest payroll in the NFL because I've got you.
Sure.
And I'm paying you as the highest coach in sports.
Right.
So that I don't have to have
Yeah.
all that.
Make me some
which
chicken
to
salad.
me is why not have both?
Yeah.
So like that's not but it could, it could be.
It's just weird to incentivize not spending money. It's like I'd incentivize winning.
Now,
or I'd
it could
incentivize-
affect the other coaches' salaries.
Mhm.
Like, you don't need to bring in all the high-powered coordinators.
See,
and,
that I can see.
And
That I can see
'cause
Bill
that's why I'm
advocating.
paying
Yeah.
you.
I could see Bill advocating for that to,
Yeah.
maintain the hierarchy. But again, that whole system fell apart too. All
Yeah.
these young coaches that,
Yeah.
you should have somehow nurtured and kept them here, all left.
Well, I'll tell you what didn't fall apart is the show and the new set.
That's right.
We'll be back on Thursday at noon. No Catch-22 this week. Again, we're working on the set. Next week, we're going to have new furniture. We're going to have some tweaks done. So keep watching. You're going to see the evolution of the set. It's very exciting. And there's a lot of tread left on these tires. But if there aren't any on yours, you want to go to Bridgestone, the official tire of the New England Patriots, and proud partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a solution near you. But don't bring a Bud Light, even though it's easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Bud Light is the official sponsor of the New England Patriots. All right, so our maiden voyage, not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad
Not
so
bad.
far. Still got work to do, but we're going to get there. Thanks, Matt, in the booth. Thanks, Dave Chase, our engineer, who hard work got everything working technically.
Yep.
Yep. Jordan in the back doing the directing.
TD.
Yeah. So good stuff. We will see you on Thursday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original